What's going on, bench warmers? Nico Brown here for the Far End of the Bench podcast. This week's my center attention. I got my Christmas tree up. I got my lights going. It's the most festive time of the year, first week of December, and the week after Thanksgiving, more importantly. And for those that live in the sports world, everyone knows Thanksgiving week in the college football world as rivalry week. And boy, oh boy, was rivalry week put on show this past weekend. Obviously, the big upset of Michigan of beating Ohio State. Obviously, the Alabama Auburn showdown again. You had teams going against one another that have a long-standing history of just hatred. And this Michigan Ohio State game for the fourth year in a row now. 4 years in a row, where Michigan has little brother to Ohio State. And Ryan Day is now 1-4. Ohio State is in trouble. Ohio State is in trouble because of a national championship this year. Ryan Day is absolutely gone. Obviously, I saw Mike Vrabel on Monday on the sideline of the Cleveland Browns at the Monday Night Football game as they played the Broncos. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But Vrabel will be a fantastic addition. I don't know if he wants to go to the college ranks again, but Ryan Day is his seat is as scorching hot as possible because now it's not even this group didn't even this class didn't beat Michigan this year, but they beat them next year. This senior class of Ohio State, including Jack Sawyer and company, did not beat Michigan at all in a year where Ohio State is obviously one of the better teams in the country statistically and everything, and Will Howard and company and are running the ball and scoring touchdowns instead of faking a knee against Indiana. It's an interesting situation because Michigan had no right winning that football game. Everyone knows they had a much worse year than Ohio State this year. And coming off a national championship, this was their national championship. They're going to play in a bowl game, but it won't matter as much because they beat Ohio State. And that's all that matters. So if you're Ohio State, you're in big trouble is all I'm going to say, especially after you seeing what Kyle McCord, the guy who you shipped off away going for Syracuse and having them beat Miami, basically kick Miami out of the playoff. And now Will Howard, three or four interceptions in a game against a team that is far inferior. I don't know if this team will ever get back to. It's going to take a very long time for Ohio State to get over this little brother syndrome. We thought it happened this year with Moore taking over as Michigan head coach and Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh taking the Chargers job and leaving the college ranks. And obviously all the styling stuff. There's no excuses. You're in the shoe. You're a 21.5-point favorite of your Ohio State. There's no excuses. A national championship appearance for Ohio State will save Ryan Day's job, but a first, second round exit, sayonara, buddy. Sayonara. So without further ado, we have a lot of college football, NFL, NBA, and NHL to talk about here. So let's jump in the rest of the episode.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Oh man, tisk. I mean, what did we say? You couldn't lose. You couldn't lose this game again. This was it. This was the one chance. And I'm glad that we get to start here because I kind of already have been on a couple different shows. I talked about it on Talking the Gridiron. I was on with Jordan last night for Ohio Sports Talk. Welcome, everybody. Episode 209 of the Far End of the Bench podcast at FUOTB Pod. Make sure you like, subscribe. Join us here on the Far End of the Bench. Become a bench warmer. Really helps out when you check out the videos and everything like that. But we just got to start off with the elephant in the room. Nico already kicked things off. Ohio State loses to Michigan in the Horseshoe 13-10. 4 years in a row. The rivalry has gone Michigan's way. The game goes to Michigan. This was supposed to be the year. 21-point favorites for Ohio State. At home. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. Their quarterback threw for a grand total of 65 yards, 2 interceptions. One in a back-breaking situation where all you needed to do was just throw the ball like 25 more yards because I guess it was windy, and then maybe your kicker has a shot to put you up. But I guess you're still tied. But no, you couldn't do that. You had to prove to everybody, there's very few signs that somebody has gotten in your head other than you cannot even, it's not even a situation where Ryan Day has to beat Michigan. I said this last night. I've heard this being said about on other places too. He is so far bent out of shape with this Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. It's not enough for him just to win the game anymore. He has to win in Ohio State's, in Michigan's fashion. They have to play that style of football. And guess what? That was the worst game plan that you could have rolled out there in this situation. And it cost the senior class a chance at their one shot to finally beat Michigan and flip the narrative and change things, go to the Big Ten championship. You're sitting at home for 3 more weeks now.
And look, Ohio State will be in the playoff. Obviously, unless something absolutely insane happens, which it's basically all the insane scenarios are basically over with. So it's very, very small possibility they're not playing in the first round of the playoffs come second week or third week of December. But at the same time, like when you see your head coach have that look on his face after a game when the whole fight on the field is happening, like what happened? Just the flat face where he's just not looking at anything and just not even fighting or anything. I'm not going to butcher his name. Sharon Moore was right in the thick of it, getting his guys out of there. Ryan Day, you can visibly see just stand there and watch Michigan plant the flag in the middle of the field. And look, it's. Do I think the planting of the flag in the middle of the field is a little overplayed? Yeah, a little bit, but that's just rivalry week. Don't lose at home. Don't lose at home.
They didn't get all that bent out of shape when Baker Mayfield did it. They didn't get bent out of shape about it. I know why they were bent out of shape, and I get
it's rivalry week for a reason. You lose at home, you should have to deal with consequences. You should deal with consequences, especially when you're a 21-point deficit. Every single team that planted the flag in the midfield won on the road. On the road. You're at home. You're supposed to protect your own. Look, if you're a Texas A&M, and we'll throw this into this conversation as well. Like, Texas came in, just had a way better game plan. Texas A&M had a few shots, but really just they were just happy.
I have never been wronger on a take than I was earlier this season on Texas A&M because that game proves that they're a ways off. I think Mike Elko will put that program in a good. They're C-tier. They're lower than Indiana is in the power rankings of these two super conferences that we're seeing. Indiana would, I think, beat them by probably about 14 points. Maybe the athletes even that up a little bit, but they proved this weekend that that's not. They're kind of a paper tiger. They're just not there.
They're not Oregon, Texas level, and hell, they're not even Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama level. They're that next crop of teams, unfortunately. That's not even a bad thing.
They're just above Vandy. I would say they're probably just above Vandy right now.
I would say they are because Vandy has had a horrible, horrible history of all time. But yes, they're right there. But yeah, this rivalry week showed that obviously anybody can beat anybody, and I think that. I seriously, I said this from the very beginning of the season. Oregon and Texas are the two teams that you're going to look at and be like, you know what, these are probably two of the best teams in the country. And it probably is very, very obvious that one of those two teams will be playing in the national championship come January. Yeah. But at the same time, there's not a clear-cut team that other teams that you could see that are easily going to be in the national championship. I can't say same thing about Georgia. They struggled against Georgia Tech, that 8 overtime game.
Good old-fashioned fist fight. I love that game.
Exactly.
Except for the way that it ended.
Exactly. 8 overtime game. I don't have that much faith in Alabama. They're going to squeeze in. Miami has basically already been kicked to the curb. And the committee has already said that losing your conference championship is not going to affect your standing in the playoffs. So that means Miami's gone. Syracuse just knocked Miami out. So it's going to be Clemson. Clemson has a backdoor chance of getting in, which is even wilder now.
If Clemson wins, I think them and SMU both have a chance. There would be a chance that them and SMU both get in, and Alabama does end up getting snubbed because they, again, what you just said, they're not going to take into effect losing in the conference championship game, and you can't put a 2-loss conference championship loser ahead of a 3-loss Alabama team who didn't make their conference championship. These are all, I think that right now, if things play out the way that I think people are expecting, SMU is expected to take care of business there, and then that leaves a few extra spots for these other SEC teams. If SMU loses to Clemson, if Dabo has that ACC voodoo, that solidifies, I think, 11 of the 12 spots, and we're only going to see one team that has the possibility for that one at-large bid as the last seed that gets in. And I think that would probably be SMU.
let me say two things here. I would be very surprised if the committee decided to pick SMU over Alabama. I am just going to put that frankly, because what they did with already putting them above Miami, who has same amount of more wins and probably same amount of good victories as Alabama, and they already put them above them. Like, I'd be very, very surprised, and I would not be surprised at all if Clemson wins, because it's just what Cade Klubnik has showed a couple games throughout the year that he could be a really, really good quarterback and take teams to promised land. Clemson lost this past week, and they snuck their way into the ACC championship.
That's the biggest backdoor I've ever. That's the biggest backdoor I've ever seen. They are so poor compared to what they've been in the past. Yet they're still probably. I mean, they're going to be right there. They're going to be right down to the wire. I don't know.
It's winning in. It's literally winning in.
That's all. It's winning in for them. Winning in for them, and I think SMU's probably treating it the same way. I think that you're probably right. I think that they probably see themselves as. There's no way, especially given the history. I think that they're going to need to figure out a way to like make this a national system where there's tiebreakers and we have an understanding of what losses and what wins actually mean more, the same way that they do in the NFL. But right now, SMU's got to be looking at themselves like, we're already a program that's had the death penalty put upon us. We're just now getting back to relevance. This is our first season in a Power 5 conference, and we're in the conference championship. But if we don't win, there's very little chance that we're going to get the benefit of the doubt, whether we prove that we were one of these top 12 teams all season or not. I think that's where the conversation is going to lie, is this committee is put together by a bunch of humans. So the one thing that you can never account for is the human factor. That's why the BCS was the way that it was for as long as it lasted, because it was a computer system. You can't argue with a computer. You can argue with the 20 guys or whatever that all have their own conference, their own school allegiances, making this playoff committee. Like, it's ridiculous. Right now, the selection criteria is so all over the place. I'm so happy that we get the 12-team format, but there's so many teams that do still have a fighting argument. Like, if you put Alabama in there, what are you going to look and say to Ole Miss? Ole Miss whooped you at home. Well, how are you going to say? I mean, I know that the Rebels lost a couple bad games, but Alabama lost a few bad games. That Vandy team ended up being very middle of the road. That was a really good performance by them. They lost the road game. They lost to Oklahoma on the road. That was a terrible performance against the team they didn't even score a touchdown against. So, like, there's all of these different backdoor conversations that I think we can get ourselves into.
They're proving this year again that frankly, it doesn't matter who the fuck is where when it comes to middle of the road teams. If you've seen Alabama or Georgia or a I don't know, if Michigan was in this conversation, you throw Michigan in this conversation, or Ohio State. If you're a big name school that has been there, done that, they're going to take that into account. That's unfortunately that's just the precedent that's been set. And what I thought was interesting, I'm not sure if it was Klatt that said this or it might have been somebody else that said, I don't remember exactly, but they brought up the conversation of, well, they already need to get rid of the 4 automatic buys being conference champions. I think that's a complete false, because I think Boise State, if you win your conference, just playing out, and Boise State, unless something crazy happens, will be that team in. And your Boise State, SMU, you beat. Yeah, you're not in the SEC. Yeah, you're not in the Big Ten. You still ran the table and played an extra game more than Notre Dame, an extra game more than Alabama, extra game more than Ohio State, and you should.
I'll throw this one in there too, Tennessee. Because we got Tennessee fans in there, and I know Tennessee had a good end of their season. Niko Iamaleava silenced a lot of things, but I think Tennessee is right there with Indiana as a lower tier below any of these other teams that we're talking about as true title contenders. We're going to get one Cinderella team, which is going to be a lot of fun. There's just not going to be more than one Cinderella run, and it's going to be who gets the hottest thing. And it honestly right now looks like Ohio State might be that Cinderella run, because they're going to be on the road all the way throughout. They didn't get the bye that they were expecting to at least have a chance to play for. So
let's also put this in perspective. The teams with the bye played an extra game than most of the teams in the playoff. Let's not forget like that. You're rewarding a team that obviously played an extra game more than other teams, right? If you, like I said, Penn State when they play Oregon in the Big Ten championship, for instance, like, they have something to play for. You don't want to have to play another game. This is your one game. You take it off. we're really going to see that. I mean, I won't dive into too much bracketology until we have that show later on this month. But like there may be a conversation where the bye either hurts teams or absolutely helps teams because, like we said, that 4th seed is going to be maybe the worst spot possible because Notre Dame has looked very, very good thus far. They're more than likely going to be the 5th seed, if not Ohio State. And like some of these other teams they're going to have to play a first round matchup may get SMU in the first round, may get Clemson, or may get Boise State, and frankly, they're going to be favored. Frankly, they'll be favored over them.
Yeah, there's a lot of different conversations that we can get into. I think it's a good point. Let's get into this weekend's games. We talked a lot about last weekend. Let's look at this weekend. I'm going to be putting up. I'll put up on the screen the games that we're picking. We're starting on Friday with the American Conference Championship because we're going to go in order of importance here. This one is a group of 5 that was close to being in consideration for that last playoff spot. Tulane and Army. Tulane's going off as a 5-point favorite right now. Over-under is set at 45.5. Army's coming off of a tough outing against Notre Dame, which they just proved that Notre Dame was too much for them. Kind of like how Notre Dame proved they were too much for Navy. It's been a great season. I think that they're going to have a hell of a showing next weekend when they get that one primetime spot against their arch rival in the Naval Academy. I know your pick, so I'll go ahead and let you talk about what your thoughts were on this one.
I don't know. Like, I was a believer in Army. Like I absolutely was. I thought that I thought that they could sneak their way into getting that 5th and final conference championship spot. But now after I saw that game against Notre Dame, I've lost all faith in the world. And Tulane is a program that's never really been like obviously top 10 in the country, but they've always been around that 20 to 30 range and 15 to 30 range where they've always at the end of the year seem to find themselves having a number next to their name because they win a big bowl game at the end of the year against a team that they shouldn't be, and they're just a frisky team. And I'll give a nod to Tulane there. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched a single second of Tulane football this year because I haven't. But I really only see Army highlights, so I'll just ride Tulane here with the hot hand because after what I saw from Army against Notre Dame, I just have no faith.
I'm leaning that way as well. I was trying to pick Army. I was trying to think of all the reasons. Army's normally a really good pick. The academies are really good picks in the bowl games because it's hard to prepare for an option attack. But when they're in your conference, I feel like Tulane's probably done that plenty. When they played, I don't recall their schedule off the top of my head, but when they play Navy or when they prepare to play Army and Navy, now that they're both in the same conference, I feel like this is a team that's going to be prepared for it. And the more talented team in the group of 5 conferences normally tend to win. Army's very disciplined. They will never make an assignment error, but they don't have the talent that these other schools have because of the academic requirements. You don't have the opportunity to go to the NFL, all of this extra stuff that we're starting to see play out that's been playing out for a long time. I mean, Army hasn't been a national championship contender outside of this most recent season since the 1940s, I think, when everybody was fighting in World War II. So they had like one of the few teams that actually could still field anybody out there. We're both on Tulane and the American for possibly the 4 seed. We're going to move also game that's taking place on Friday. The Boise State Broncos took care of business, only loss on the season, coming to number 1 ranked Oregon. Possibly, they're the Big Ten championship favorite. We'll get to that game when we get to our Saturday slate. They're taking on the UNLV Rebels, who had 2 losses on the season, which is why they are as low ranked as they come into this game. I am really excited because the conference championship for the Mountain West does get played in a neutral site. They're going to be playing in Vegas. So I know that Boise's technically the home team with the higher seed, higher ranking. It's going to be a lot of UNLV fans. It's going to be really close. And damn it, you are right now, unless Tulane ends up winning, because I think Tulane is ranked higher. If Tulane loses to Army and UNLV beats Boise, the Rebels have played themselves back into the college football playoff. So they have everything to play for with this win. Not only the fact that it would give you an 11-win season and you would beat the team that everybody's talking about, you would ruin Ashton Genty's Heisman campaign right before it even gets off the ground. I don't know if it even has that much cadence because of what we saw Colorado do to Oklahoma State this past weekend and Travis Hunter doing what he does. But, man, thinking about that now, UNLV is a surprising spot because they have a lot of – they control part of their own destiny, which is the fun part about this game. I'm going with the UNLV Rebels. What are you seeing in the Mountain West?
This is literally a playoff game. This game is literally a playoff game. It is not – Boise State loses, they're out. Plain and simple. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Alabama goes in above them. I'll even say Miami will jump them. You lose to UNLV, unfortunately, with how poor the Mountain West has been this year and how much, frankly, Boise State has blown out bad teams and basically like made close games against teams that they shouldn't have. Cough, Wyoming. It's Boise State UNLV. Boise State could easily be a 3 seed, possibly as high as a 3 seed, very easily high as a 3 seed, or not even be in the playoff. Plain and simple.
And looking at this, I'm going to make one quick correction. Tulane is not ranked, so if UNLV wins, if UNLV wins, Army has to lose, and UNLV would go in above Army.
I think UNLV would even have an argument over Army anyway. So I don't even think that'd be that hard of a take, frankly. But I'll take Boise State here. I still think that they're one of the better teams in the country. Obviously, JT is one of the most electric players in college football, especially out of the backfield we've seen in some time in college football, and that's really a kudos to what Boise State has done the past couple of years. Obviously, the fact that it's at Allegiant Stadium and that it is technically going to be roughly a home game for UNLV, not roughly, it will be a home game for UNLV. Like I still think Boise State will come out victorious here. I think that, frankly, the last couple of weeks they've been trying just to not shoot themselves in the foot. And make sure they just sneak into the Mountain West Championship and then just get hot at the right time. Obviously, the last couple of games of the season where they just had close games, I think that they were just trying to coast their way through to make sure that they didn't falter. Now that they have it, now it's literally winning in. That's literally the definition of the game is win in and I have to go with what I've seen this year, and Boise State is very, very electric, and GT is one of the most electric players in college football. So I'll ride Boise State and ride the hot hand.
One thing I will say, the UNLV games that I've watched, if you're not ready to come and play a physical football game, that defense is very physical. Like Boise State not only will have to rely on Genty, but they're going to have to be able to spread their carries. They have a pretty talented running back room behind him too. He just gets a majority of everything. I don't think that he's going to be able to hold up with the amount of times he's going to be taking big hits because he's a yards after carry guy because he's so short and he's so stocky and has such good balance that he runs through a lot of tackles. UNLV doesn't give you an opportunity with what I've seen out of the Rebels this year. They tackle pretty well. That's going to be an interesting matchup coming up on Friday night. I think that's probably going to be – this is the most that we're probably going to watch the American and the Mountain West Championship in 4 years. How long has it been since Cincinnati made it into the 14 playoff? I feel like that's the last time that was truly a game that we needed to pay attention to. Another win-in situation. Playoffs start early for a lot of these conferences. Big 12 championship, number 16 Iowa State going in as an underdog, 2-point underdog to the Big 12 championship. It's being played in Arlington. Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship game against number 15 Arizona State. Over-under set at 49.5. We've been talking about this. We said that the Big 12 champion, with as low as everything has been ranked, if it's Boise State winning the Mountain West, Big 12 champion will go in as that fourth spot and fifth conference championship spot, and they would not have the bye. They would play the opening round game as the 12 seed. Where are we sitting? Because Arizona State looked really, really good against Arizona. Iowa State came back and ended up dominating, taking care of business against Kansas State. Both these teams had really disappointing parts of the season, but they're here. They're in the spot that they needed to be. Who do you trust more in a win-in situation?
Well, Arizona State is obviously the much hotter team right now. They've beaten some really good teams, obviously, frankly sneak their way into the Big 12 championship because they're a team that 4 or 5 weeks ago we weren't even having that conversation about them being in that game, and here they are with being the favorites now. I'll take Iowa State here. I've seen what Iowa State has done against good teams like Iowa, good teams like Kansas State, obviously. I feel like they're a little more tested. Arizona was able to just walk through Arizona because Arizona was not a good team at all. And frankly, outside of the one wide receiver talent, McMillan, who's going to be an NFL talent, there isn't much NFL talent out there for Arizona. And obviously, Cam Scatterboo and Dillingham and company just ran it down their throat, and they had no answers. I think Iowa State is a little more disciplined. I think they're a little bit more ready. I have zero faith in either of these teams winning a playoff game. Let me put that very, very clear. I do not. I think that Iowa State or Arizona State are going to get shell shocked in the first round against a much inferior opponent. Superior opponent. But I'll take Iowa State here. I think Arizona State is kind of really haven't been tested that well, and when they have been tested, they've struggled. So I'll ride Iowa State.
I'm sticking with the hot team. It's a little bit nerve-wracking to me because Dillingham is in his first season. I know that this team is terrible on special teams. Like, Dillingham came out and said that himself. That was the whole issue at the very beginning of the season with his kicker. They're having the open tryouts. He had to come out and apologize because he knows that the kicking game falls back on one person. So if it's a close game, I'm a little bit more nervous. What I'm seeing, though, out of Arizona State is when they've had to win, they have not only taken care of business and gotten the win done, but they're winning in the way that is sustainable. They're running the football. They're taking shots when they need to based on the running game that it opens up. Cam Scatterbo is in his senior era, and he wants to go out and win the conference championship because this was a program that was very down and out, very downtrodden before coming into this conference. They were picked, I think, to finish second to last, and they handled business against BYU in a win-and-in situation. They handled business last week against Arizona, where it could have been a trap game against your in-state rival on the road, and they planted the pitchfork in midfield. Kenny Dillingham seems to be putting this team in the right spot. So we're going to be split on this Big 12 championship. It'll be the first game on Saturday, so get ready for fireworks early. I'm going to be at a wrestling tournament, but I'll have my iPad with me, so I'm going to be having my eyes on the games that are going on then. But it'll be interesting. It's a very close. All the best thing that we could say about championship weekend this year, all these games are within 4 points spread in the games that we're really going to be paying attention to. They're all going to be tight. They're all going to be hotly contested, and who's going to make the fewer mistakes? Coaching is going to be a big factor in this. So Dillingham versus Matt Campbell, it's going to be interesting who comes out on top in the Big 12. SEC is our next game up on the slate. Georgia, number 5 ranked, handled business against their in-state rival. Good old-fashioned hate against Georgia Tech in overtime slugfest that it was. That was hilarious. I was on social media, and there's a guy that likes to do SEC content, and he was doing therapy. And then all of a sudden, Georgia Tech come in and say, where are you guys? Oh, we were just outside fighting in the parking lot. It's been 6 hours. Oh, really? It felt like 4 years. That was what a game to kick off rivalry weekend. And I think Georgia Tech has a lot to do. They're going to do a lot in that rivalry moving forward. It scared me a little bit with Georgia, and it's hard when you play the same team two times in a year. But what did we see the last time that Texas played Georgia? Their quarterback struggled in the big moment at home, wasn't able to do anything against this very talented defense. And when they had to drive the football, they couldn't. I will say the same thing about Georgia's offense. When Georgia didn't get a short field, they were not having Carson Beck lead them on these massive drives. So I'm a little bit wary, but this is Texas's first season in the SEC. They've never been to Atlanta before. Georgia's been there. They've done that. They've handled business against the greatest coach in college football. And now they have what's supposed to be the heir apparent on the sidelines in Kirby Smart. I think I'm rolling Bulldogs in this one.
I mean, I don't hate it. I think this game could go either way, frankly. I find it very, very difficult to beat a team twice in a row, especially, I mean, we talked about that Georgia game, Texas game back in, what was it, September? Or
I think October? It was the first game of October.
Early October. And I remember specifically having the conversation of, should Georgia or should Texas start Arch Manning? Because obviously Quinn Ewers had not had a lot of games underneath him at that point, and had really not been under the lights that much. And I think now that he's gotten some big wins under his belt, obviously over Florida, over Texas A&M this past weekend, and had a little bit more time to settle down into his spot of being obviously the guy at Texas. I think it's really, really helped him a lot. And I think it's a much, much different team than we saw when Georgia beat Texas in October. So I'll ride Texas here. Like I said, Carson, I mean, look, Georgia is a very, very good, solid defensive team. I still struggle with thinking that Carson Beck is going to continue to win this football game, because I don't believe in him. I think that he's played himself out of literally being a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Frankly, he was going to be the consensus number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft next year, and frankly, he may not even be a first-rounder this year. So I will stick with Texas here and believe in the Longhorns.
All right, it's going to be it's right in the middle of the day. I should be done with my tournament by then, so that might be the first game I get to watch at home. Really quick, shout out to the state of Ohio for owning the MAC this season. Ohio versus Miami of Ohio. If you want my breakdown and my pick of that game, go check out the Ohio Sports Talk episode that I hosted with Jordan last night. Next game up, these games will be taking place at the same time. So if you're like me and my family, know where the back button is, because you're going to want to be keeping an eye on both. Big Ten championship first. Penn State, number 3. They get the benefit of Michigan upsetting Ohio State last weekend, and now they're elevated into this spot with the chance, if they can handle business, if James Franklin can beat a big game that is not named Ohio State and beat Dylan Gabriel and this Dan Lanning team that's been on an absolute tear, just coming off they finally got the monkey off their back beating Washington, who they lost to twice last season. They have the chance to be the number 1 seed in the playoff. I think that the Big Ten champion, no matter what else happens, is going to be the number 1 seed. I think that they would be I think they would put them up above Texas. It'd be difficult if they both won, but I don't know. I think that they might be able to lean Big Ten because Big Ten has a little bit better of a roster with records. Who knows? That's a conversation for another day. Thinking about this game specifically and who's going to win, we are actually in agreement on this one. It's hard for me to trust James Franklin at all. And in this moment, this is the biggest moment going to Indianapolis. This is the first time he's been there since 2016. They have been in the conference championship before. Again, they didn't play Ohio State in that situation. If you don't play Ohio State and Michigan, they seem to take care of business to the Nittany Lions. And they have a lot of very talented players. This is not a turn around and hand the ball off 3 times to your fullback type of team. They will get out there and score some points. Dylan Gabriel and Dan Lanning, though, just earned my trust all season. They had chances to falter. They had games where they were close and shouldn't have been. Idaho comes to mind. But ever since they kind of figured themselves out on the offensive line, this is a different team. They have the oldest quarterback in college football who's going to walk out of here with his football PhD and probably played himself into maybe the end of the first round, early second round pick for Sundays next season. But I'm going with Oregon. I think the Ducks fly. Ducks fly together.
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'll take Oregon as well. Oregon is a far superior team. James Franklin has not won the big game yet. I will wait until he proves me wrong, plain and simple. And Penn State, like I said, backed into this game because of what Ohio State did, unfortunately. So we didn't get the rematch we were wanting to with Oregon, Ohio State. Instead, we get Penn State seeing that if they're for real or not, because I think this is going to be a game to show me whether or not if Penn State gets their absolute breaks beat in this weekend, they're first or next to 2. I'll even say that. I'll even go as far as that because I will have zero faith in James Franklin will be able to win a big game if he doesn't even make this game a game.
Do you think that he still ends up getting the 5 seed if they lose the Big Ten championship?
I think Notre Dame will be a 5 seed. I'm almost positive they'll be.
Do you think they would put? Well,
they're already ahead of them. They're the 5th ranked team currently, or the 6th ranked team. And if Georgia loses, if Penn State loses, I think that Notre Dame just slides right there. That they're the next team, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand.
That would give Notre Dame a home playoff game. That ought to piss a lot of people off this first.
I don't think that's right. And frankly, I don't think Notre Dame has really played anybody that's been worth a shit. Frankly.
And they have the worst loss of any team that's going to be in the playoff. They lost to Northern Illinois at home.
Exactly. So I'm not like going to sit here and act like I'm liking what I'm saying because I'm not. I don't think that they're the next team, the 5th best team. But I do think that based upon what they're showing, and based upon what I've seen, is that A, Alabama will be in the playoff no matter what, and B, Notre Dame is probably going to be the next team, unfortunately, out of the top 4.
You're making sense. It makes sense. I'm just saying that
I don't want to make sense.
That is the one team that is the one team that every other team is looking at like, fuck you. No, you cannot make the playoff as an independent. Join a conference. You can't just play an ACC schedule. Join the conference and play in the conference championship game. Speaking of the ACC, Dabo, that would be I think that would be the worst thing for this entire committee is if Clemson ends up winning this game. Not necessarily that they think the Ponies are going to go on this magical run, but if you have to put in Clemson after the season that they put out there, it would be like having to put in if Texas A&M handled business. It would having put a team in like that that's not the best representative of your conference. You're not going to get any extra money as they go to these neutral site bowl games. You get more money the more rounds you go into the playoff. They want SMU because at least maybe there's a little bit of a shot, and at least then you probably get one of those early buys and you play the neutral site no matter what. Dabo could be the downfall of this conference, and we've said a lot about him. We've kind of gotten – I know I went back and forth on my take about Clemson. I said that they're never going to win in this era because they refused to bring in – they brought in one transfer kid. That's only third lowest behind the 2 service academies. And Dabo refuses to adopt to the NIL. Yet here they are.
Yeah, like I said, here they are with a chance to not only maybe even get a bye. Like that's not even – let's not sugarcoat it. Clemson win this game. They're in the conversation for having a bye. Like you could
It
have
would
the
come down
argument,
to come back down to the Mountain West game if they
or
were
the
to get the bye or not.
or the Big 12, depending on if Iowa State or Arizona State like like I say, it comes down to a couple of different things, but they very easily have a bye. Like there is a pathway for Clemson to bye, and it's sickening because this team lost last week. This team lost last week, right, to a South Carolina team that obviously South Carolina's had a great year, and they're a team that had a great run to the end of the season. It's kind of sad that they're not in the mix, unfortunately, but they started off way too cold. But Clemson, man, I don't know what it is, but like I think the same conversation we had about Kirby Smart and Georgia's, and I'll throw Dabo Swinney and Clemson. He kind of knows what it takes to win the game. He kind of knows what it takes to win the ACC championship. And unlike Texas with SEC, where Texas has been in Big 12 championship, year after year, SMU is brand fucking new to the Power Four. They're brand new to the Power Four. They've been in lower level conferences their entire run, and now that they're with a chance to obviously get a bye, and frankly, I would have loved Miami's chances in this game against both these teams, but they shot themselves in the foot out of the playoff. But like, I see a world where Clemson wins this. I really do. Like it's weird saying that after one week later after losing that this team is going to be the last team in the playoff, but I see it. I really do, and I think that Clemson is the first round exit no matter what. But like, I don't know. I think that they can squeeze through. So I will take the bait, and I will ride Clemson and Dabo Swinney winning another big game with playoff chances on the line, because that's one thing Dabo did for a lot of years there is when they played in the ACC championship with a chance to make the top four, obviously when the college football playoff was 4 teams, like they always would come in clutch and just demolish their opponent. Like that's just something that they did with Trevor Lawrence. That's something they did with redacted name. It's just something that Dabo Swinney has done, and so I will back my way into weirdly thinking that Clemson will be a playoff team. And so I will take Clemson.
All right. I'm going with SMU. I want the story. I think that they are that good of a team that they're probably just going to go out there and handle business, because I don't think Clemson has the talent this year. I don't know what SMU has in the future. This might be the best thing for them if they can win this game and make it to the playoff. Because again, we talked about it last week too, but that is your recruiting tool for the future. Just like how Michigan used this last weekend, and Sherrod Moore using his post-game press conference to, put, if you come here, I'm going to give you the spotlight. I'm going to let you speak on ESPN, on ABC, nationally televised on Fox, and I'm going to let you be out there in front of the camera, and I'm going to back you up, and this is how we win football games, and we know who we are. I think SMU, if they are able to win this game, dethrone what has been the champion of the ACC for so long, going all the way back to Deshaun before all the other issues and everything else that happened, this would be a poetic story for SMU to come into the conference in the first year and upset the guy that's on the throne. This is what we wanted for a lot of these conferences. That's why everybody wanted the rematch with Ohio State and Oregon, because that's been, they haven't won the conference in the last 4 years because Michigan's been able to beat them. But that is like the measuring stick. You want to see them play the best team in the conference when these new teams come in, and we have a chance of that here. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, yeah, I'll stick my neck out there. I'll put my neck out there on the line for the boys out there in Dallas. I'm going SMU Ponies. Championship weekend's always one of my favorites, so be glued to the TV all weekend.
Based upon what we've picked, my 4 buys are going to be, and I'll just reminding everybody what I did. I think Oregon will be the number 1 seed. I have them winning, obviously. I have Texas as the number 2 seed, beating Georgia. My 3 seed will be Boise State having the bye, beating UNLV. And my 4 seed, I will say that Clemson gets a nod above Iowa State, and Iowa State is the last team in, because Clemson will have a better win over SMU. So I'll say Clemson is the fourth bye, with Iowa State being the 5th conference champion in the last seed.
Okay. With the way that I ended up picking, let's see, I would have UNLV would be the Mountain West champions. So that means that Iowa State possibly has the ability to get that 4th spot. So I would have SMU, Oregon, Georgia, and Arizona State, and then UNLV would be the last conference champion, but that would not get the bye because they would be the lowest ranked of any of the conference champions left. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out. Let us know who you have more faith in when you guys watch this. If you're watching the replay, if you're checking it out live, drop it in the comments what you think. Let's change gears a little bit before we get into the NFL football and talk about There's been a lot of movement. There's been a lot of change. A lot of things have happened. Post-Thanksgiving, this is where we like to where a lot of people check in on the winter sports, because hockey and basketball, even though they kind of start when football is right in the middle of things, they are winter sports. This is what we're going to be paying attention to. Starting in the NHL, let's look at our Avalanche, because they are still right where we left them in the 4th spot in the Central, but yet it feels different somehow because they are playing at a better, I would say they're playing at a better pace, if you want to say it that way. What have we seen recently? They had the big move in goaltender. Remind me who they ended up trading to bring in a new netminder.
Traded away Juices and Noonan, which I thought Noonan was playing better in Georgia, but maybe I was wrong on that. But they traded him away and got Scott Wedgwood. Wedgwood obviously has played pretty decently through 2 games. He came in relief in that game where Georgia let in 4 goals, and we were down 4-0. For those that didn't know, on Monday night or Tuesday night, after the same night as the Broncos game, they were down 4-0, and the Avs came back and literally won that game 5-4 in regulation. He came in relief in Forgiev, and obviously Wedgwood had the start tonight. So there must be a lot of faith in this goaltender in Russia that the Avs have as a young goaltender that next year that they don't need to feel like they need to develop a Noonan even further, and that they just need a now fix for this. So I thought it was interesting because it's really felt to me that Noonan was taking the number 1 job, and then just to let loose and just say screw it, we're going to bite the bullet and try, hopefully develop this next guy coming up and try to get it fixed right now. And Wedgwood is, like I said, he's not a top goaltender by any means, but he's been a serviceable number 2 guy for a lot of years, frankly, and been a serviceable guy that teams have relied on for a lot of years. I remember when he was in Dallas, he was very, very reliable, and when he was in, I forgot where the other spot he was, but he's been reliable getting teams in the playoffs. So I'm excited to see what he does to this team. But this team is still not healthy. Like they're still missing Ross Colton. Obviously, Colton has been injured, and they have Lecky back. They have obviously Nichushkin back, and they have a lot of these guys back. But I'm still seeing such poor defense. Like I can sit here and blame Georgia all I want. This defense has been the worst in the league. Like they are like. Don't get me wrong, Georgia needs to make some saves, and whoever's in net needs to make some saves. But I am seeing doorstep goals where it's backdoor cuts that the defense is just falling asleep. I called out Taze, called out Manson, called out Kale, called out Gerard last week, and I'll continue to call them out again because this is just so poor and poor. It's getting worse and worse that every game that I understand that our goalies are not giving you anything to rely on. You have to back them up in the slightest. You have to give them a little help in the slightest, and we're doing none of that. We're absolutely doing none of that because as bad as our injuries have been on our forward lines, we have no problem scoring the puck. That's not a problem. We have no problem scoring the puck. As many injuries as we have on the front lines, we don't have problems scoring the puck.
Turns out McKinnon and Rantanen can turn these no-name guys into some playmakers.
Exactly. So that is not a problem. The problem is keeping it out of our net, and it's going to continue to be that problem. And frankly, when playoff time comes, the offense will slow down. That's just what happens in the NHL playoffs. It's what happens. You can score 6-7 goals in the regular season at will all you want. Can you win a game 2-1 in the playoffs? And right now, I have zero faith in that at all because of how poor this defense is right now and how shaky our goaltending confidence has been. So, look, this Wedgwood deal is a deal that's not going to just be like a Darren Helm or like a Cogliano type of deal that you're like, oh, this is going to be the deal that puts us over top. It's a deal that you look at, you're like, you know what, this could be beneficial for us, but we still have a lot of holes that we need to fix.
So then with the defense, you kind of tried to seal the plug at goaltender, bringing in Wedgwood. He's going to play with Georgiev. Are you going after Forgiev?
Yeah, we're only calling it Forgiev from now on until his goals above average is below 2. Like that's all we're doing.
So you have kind of that stopgap there. So the next move obviously is going to be defenseman. Who ends up being on the chopping block to get that defenseman? Because you're going to have to give up one of these guys that are playing forward or possibly maybe. I
think it's an O'Connor. I think it's a Miles Wood. I think it's one of these young forwards because Koval, Niko, and Ivan and company have been getting better. And like I said, when you have Ross Colton coming back to the line, it could even be him by chance. Like I would not be surprised to see one of these young forwards because when you see the development that have happened with these young guys at the back end and the back end of the forward lines, I've been very, very impressed. Very impressed. So I think that it will come between the middle order of that of those forward lines. Like I said, the untouchables are Mikko, Lecky, Nate, Kale, obviously.
Right now, Landeskog is obviously in his whole other conversation.
No one's even going to be able to trade for him anyways because you can't trade injured
No,
players.
you can't trade him. But that's like you said last week. There's going to be a time where we have to have that very uncomfortable conversation unless things make a drastic change.
Exactly. So I would even though Casey Middlesack, because you've invested a lot into him with the deal, I would think he'd be a guy that sticks around too.
Is Lecky a possibility?
I would say no, because when he's come back, he's been very consistent goaltending, and I think that he's just such a reliable guy. Like I said, this isn't a deal. The Avs should not make a deal that just shocks the fucking world, unless it's Sidney Crosby. Let me make that very, very clear. But like, it should be a deal that's just a smart move that McFarland and Sack can find a guy on a shitty team that is not doing a whole lot, but will fit perfectly into Bednar's system. So look, I don't watch hockey enough and watch every single team enough to know who that name is, but I'm sure McFarland and Sackler do, and I'm very interested to see what a deal trading O'Connor, what a deal trading Miles Wood away would look like, and who you could get in return on the back end. Maybe even packaging Gerard and a wing to get a better defenseman. Even like there's possibilities out there that I see, but the defense, like I said, it is the number one problem. I have no problem with how much this team's going to score. I know he can score 2-3 goals a night. I know it does because of how good the front lines are. I worry that the team's going to let in 5 goals a night, though. So please figure out the back line.
Looking at the rest of the playoff standings, obviously, if you're watching with us live on YouTube or if you're watching the YouTube back, the Avalanche would be out of the playoffs. They would be the first team eliminated in the Western Conference. You would have Minnesota as the number 1. Vegas would be the 2. Winnipeg would technically be the 3. But then you got your wild card teams as both teams in the Pacific. So what we said at the beginning of the season is not holding true right now. There is still a long ways to go. This is only the post-Thanksgiving check-in, but just seeing where things lie in the Western Conference right now, there's a couple different surprises. Like Minnesota's playing, I think, above a lot of what people expected. And Nashville is the team on the opposite end of the spectrum that's playing so poor with everybody that they brought in. And they're learning very quickly. Like when you get rid of a guy like Ryan McDonough, it's not just going to be a quick fix. You can't just replace that guy because it's not only the defensive presence that he plays. He's very rarely out of position, but that is a leader. That is a guy that gets everybody else playing as hard as they possibly can every night. And Nashville needs something. The Central right now is actually probably the worst of the 2 divisions.
The argument I have against that would be that obviously Chicago sucks. Obviously Nashville has been terrible this year. I think the Central Division has 2 of the hottest teams in the NHL, and Winnipeg and Minnesota. Like Winnipeg went on an absolute fucking tear at the start of the season. They've cooled off a little bit, but Hellebuck was playing unbelievable hockey, and they were red hot. And if you're like I said, this is why I'm so prevalent on the Avs just not standing pat and trying to figure out what they need to do very early on, because you do not want to dig yourself into a hole, and especially with how hot the top teams in the Central have been playing, it could get unfortunately a lot worse. So that's what I'm worried about. But Winnipeg and Minnesota have been playing very, very good hockey. And like I said, when Nashville, when we looked at those deals for Nashville, the biggest question marks we had were like, Nashville's kind of getting older when they signed these guys, right? Stamkos got them older. Obviously, O'Reilly, when they had him, was older. Like
that's father time right there.
It's older. Like you're not adding stars to adding like prime stars or guys at the back end of their prime. You're adding guys that are past their prime.
Yeah, they added somebody from Vegas that's also 36, just like Stamkos, and I'm blanking on who it was. It was either it might have been Nylander or Carlson, one of the
those
two.
Are like you make 1 or 2 of those moves in off season, and those are your counter pieces to an already built team, right? Like no offense to Stamkos, but Stamkos is not what he was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, frankly, even that far back. Like he is nowhere even close to that. And to think that he's going to be a number 1 guy on a playoff team in the year 2024, it's not sustainable. I'm sorry, Nashville. It's not. And especially when you've had trouble in net with UC Saros staying healthy, like, man, Nashville's in trouble.
And then also a little bit of news in the Central, and also a little bit in the Eastern Conference. But Boston fires Montgomery, and he's immediately signed. St. Louis kicks the coach that they had to the curb and brings in Jim Montgomery, who was arguably the best regular season coach the last 2 seasons behind the Boston Bruins. They have the incredible year that they don't make it any further past the second round. And then obviously last year, a little bit disappointing finish for them, and they haven't been good to start the season, but that seemed early. That seemed really early for Boston, a team that's original 6, that's always, what have they been other than consistent for the last 15 years, going all the way back to the 2011 Stanley Cup championship that they have over Vancouver. I'm sorry, Canucks fans, but I've got to bring it up. That was just insane the way that it ended up going down. And then it was kind of like, oh, well, we were just waiting. You were just a placeholder until somebody else got fired, and we wanted to bring somebody new in because they already fired Berube, and this guy was the interim last year. And I don't know, I guess there's some people that said they didn't like playing for him, but it just seems really fishy. Like there was some collusion, there was some conversations behind the bench going on. This deal doesn't just happen in St. Louis.
It was very interesting because, like you said, they've had a horrible start to the like. There's no sugarcoating that, but they're still, frankly, a playoff type roster. They're still a playoff type roster.
And they're not even wild card. They would still be in the playoffs just based on their division alone.
Exactly. So like they're not like a horrible squad still. So it made no sense to me. And they brought in Joe Sacco, who obviously Colorado Avalanche fans know because he was the guy before Patrick Waugh, and the guy who was coaching this team during the last few years of Joe Sacco's run with this team, and he comes in and obviously he's done a better job with them. But one thing I'm going to pose this question to you because you don't really see it in basketball. You don't see it in football. You don't see it in baseball. Like hockey may be the only – maybe soccer. I don't know enough about Premier League soccer, MLS soccer to put them in conversation. But like NHL coaches get hired as quickly as they get fired. Like there isn't like a situation where like I think I've seen more NHL coaches get fired mid-season than in the NBA, or maybe not the NBA, but NFL for that matter, or these other teams.
It's for sure there.
And teams are so quick to pull triggers on guys too. They're like, all right, we'll fire the new guy because this guy's available. Like the Bednars of the world and.
Cooper in Tampa.
Yeah, Cooper. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Cooper in Tampa Bay. It is a dime a dozen. It is a dime a dozen. A good head coach can stick around with a team for more than 10 years, and it's the impatience of this team. And I think that's what really has helped us because this team has a true identity. Like it really has a true. Tampa Bay has a true identity. Yeah, we both teams have taken a step back in terms of talent wise because they're getting older, but you still have the identity where new guys can come in, and yes, it will take time for them to develop into Kucherovs of the world, the Hedmans of the world, the McKinnons, Cam McCarrs of the world. But you know that they're coming in, they know what system they're running. Like St. Louis had a head coach. And they didn't even fire. They said, all right, we're just hiring a new guy. Like they said, you're gone up. We're just going to bring you in. That's just insane to me for 1 week. Like maybe baseball, this happens a lot more because of how many games there are. But like, it's an 82-game long season. It's long, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, you just played 30 games with a former head coach, and now you're supposed to play the next 50 with a whole entire new system?
Yes.
I get it. Exactly. I get it. Like, if you need to make a head coaching change, bring in another guy. But that guy that you bring in is usually the assistant coach where he already has things in place, where it's not a brand new fucking system. You are starting from day zero. All over again.
They're thinking that this is going to be the same thing. You remember that the 2019 run? Because they're not as bad as they were. They were dead last at the time that they made the coaching switch to Berube. But they're just thinking that they're going to rinse and repeat the same thing. And I would love when football starts winding down, we have more time to talk about hockey. I would love to get some of the VSN guys on who are big Blues fans because I'd be interested to hear their perspective. But as an outsider, I'm like, yes, thank you. Because that was one of the teams that's right on the Avalanche heels with these fighting for the wild card spots. At least I know I don't really have to worry about you for at least 10 games until everybody gets understood what their new role is. And you're going to have to make some decisions with the lineup. You don't just come in as the new coach and play the same lineup that the last guy was because you got an ego. That's why this business is the way that it is. But the NHL is moving on from coaches because that's one league. I would say them and the NBA have probably the two most powerful collective bargaining agreements in place right now. I know that the NHL is pretty bad with all the revenue sharing and it's a hard cap sport, but the trade clauses that players get in the NHL, the fact that you're signing guys to 9-year contracts, they're not willing to trade people as much as they were. It used to be you just trade one of the star players and shake the lineup up that way. Now how you shake the lineup up is next coach.
Cut the head off. Yeah, it's like Hydra. You just cut the head off and hope that the new head that pops up is just a lot better. Like it's insane to me. Like I said, I think that Boston will be fine. Sacco's a decent head coach. He's been around the game for long enough. I have no problems. I do think that Montgomery is a long-term play for St. Louis. I don't think St. Louis even believes themselves that they're cup contenders this year. I think it's more of a move like, you know what, this coach is available. Let's just jump at the opportunity to bring him in and try to develop something over a year's time, so that maybe next year or the year after that they can become a Stanley Cup contender again. So I don't know. It's just such a weird dynamic, because I think that, I mean, I never play baseball, so I don't know enough about baseball. But I think NBA obviously is probably the lowest of the totem pole of where, one of the lowest of the totem pole where coaching matters. And I think NHL may be like the second highest outside football. Like, so it's such a weird dynamic how teams just go in and out of head coaching changes and what it does to the psyche of a team, because it's very weird. It's very weird how this has just become the new norm.
I don't know if it's good or bad or if it's going to change, but right now the players have more power, so that's why the coaches are on the losing end. I guess maybe losing end. I feel like their contracts are still going to get paid. Like Montgomery's still going to get a check from the Bruins. It has to be. There's no way that they just sign like independent contractor deals where as soon as you get fired, that contract's null and void. There's got to be some sort of payout on the back end. So you're getting paid by two teams, I guess. Looking over to basketball, let's look at our Nuggets. Post-Thanksgiving right now, we would be in the play-in scenario. Obviously, you know that I'm struggling. I'm watching more college football than anything. I'm winning that belt this year. I'm winning our bracket, first ever bracket Pickem show instead of the bowl Pickem show. What are the Nuggets doing? Why are we sitting at it as an 8 seed right now? What's going on?
Well, I mean, look, the game tonight as we're recording this, like the Cleveland game, and shout out our Ohio sports friends. Cleveland is on a tear right now, and they're a very, very good ball club. We got our shit broken in. I was watching this as we first started. We got our shit broken in. It was a very bad game overall. And that game sorry, my shit's tweaking. That game we looked at the game versus on Monday night against Golden State. I saw a lot of promising things. I saw Aaron Gordon take the next step of being the number 2 guy. I saw Christian Brown making plays. I saw Russ making a lot of big time plays as well. Like this team is missing one thing. It is number 2. There is no Robin. There is no Batman to Superman or vice versa. There is no number 2 on this team. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. have absolutely failed to do so. It is absolutely sickening to me year in, year out, because when Aaron Gordon went down with an injury for the past couple of weeks, like, you expected Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to A, pick up their defense, and B, pick up their offensive scoring output. And right now, Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are playing, as Steve Smith likes to say, Jags. Just another guy out there. Just another guy. They're not the threat offensively. They're getting picked apart defensively. You could see that Steph Curry was doing that against Jamal Murray in the clutch on Monday night. Like this team is look, this team is giving a lot of headaches, because obviously you still have the best player in the world, and you're going to be a championship contender when you have the best player in the world. That's just the way things go. Okay, but Barkley put it at a point where he compared this to Olajuwon in the mid '90s when he won the Rockets championships when Jordan was gone. The Rockets didn't know what to do with a all-world talent, and it didn't know how to optimize a championship window, because outside those 2 years with Moses Malone and company, they were not back in the championship picture. They never faced Jordan and the Bulls in the finals. Like after Jordan came back, that was something that didn't happen. And the Nuggets are nearing that territory where we could be fumbling in our world talent. We could be fumbling that. And look, everyone knows Jokic is not, his first love is not basketball. We know that there's no sugarcoating that. So his career could be a lot shorter than we think. It could be 3 years, could be 4 years, could be the end of this contract and be done very easily. So what are you going to do in the next 5 years? Are you going to sit on your hands and play with Michael Porter Jr. playing a B rating and having F-level talent defensively? Are you going to sit there with Jamal Murray, who will put up 5 points one night and 28 the next? Like, are you willing to do that? So I don't know what trade scenarios look out there. There's a couple teams that could be shipping players off, could not be shipping players off. I've seen Jimmy Butler's name in the fucking trade rumor mill. If that was a possibility, my God, I'd jump at a heartbeat at that. If there's one player
go full Godfather face, I would love Jimmy Butler here.
If there's one player that is going to be shut off in this team, it's going to be Michael Porter Jr. If this team is going to make one big deal, it'll be Michael Porter Jr. Because let's be honest with ourselves, in 3 or 4 years now, 3 or 4 years, whatever, however long left in his contract, he's not going to resign. I'm almost could guarantee that Michael Porter Jr. will try to go somewhere else and be a number one on a team and when his contract's over.
Washington.
Exactly. Like he could very, very easily do that. So this year may be the last year where you try to make a bench move where you still try to have belief in Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. But after this going into the offseason, there's like I said with Landeskog, there's going to be hard conversations. There's going to be hard conversations because frankly, Jamal Murray has not been good enough. He's not been good enough, plain and simple. And I've said it since we won our championship run. Like on our championship run, Aaron Gordon is the second best player on this team. He's the second most consistent player on this team, defensively, offensively. That frankly, unfortunately, in today's landscape of basketball, where it's such guard heavy, your two best players cannot be bigs. That's just not your best player can be a big win championship. Obviously, that's possible, but your two best players cannot be your power forward and center to rely on them consistently. You have to have a guy having the ball in their hands every single down the field, which Jokic does. Don't get me wrong, but you have a guy that has their ball in their hands every single possession that you can trust consistently. Unfortunately, Jamal has not been that. So, look, I am not ready to pump the brakes and say that we need to blow it up and start making crazy things. But if things don't get better, specifically more Michael Porter Jr., there's going to have to be a conversation to be had. Because I don't know, I may have said this last week, but when I saw fucking Michael Porter Jr. play defense against OG Anunoby and frequently just leave him open to score 40 points, I was losing my fucking mind. It took until he literally had 35 points to be like, oh shit, I better start guarding him. It is blowing my fucking mind. This team may be the worst closeout team I've ever seen. And when I say closing out, I mean closing out on threes. Because offenses literally drive, kick the ball, and it's an open three every fucking possession. It's look, don't get me wrong, it's not Lakers have defense because that's even worse. And they're at a much better shit show defensively. But this team does not close out so lazily. And as a basketball nerd like myself, put your hands up in the air. Unless it's Steph fucking Curry and Kevin Durant on the three, I'm not jumping at every fucking three shot there is. I'm not. If you hit a tough shot over the top of me, if fucking OG Anunoby hits a contested three with my hand in his face, I live because he's not going to hit 10 of those. Steph Curry will. That's fine. But Klay Thompson will. Luka might. But, like, I'm not doing – it's such poor defensive values. And I look at Ryan Sanders, who I love. I think Ryan Sanders – or maybe Ryan Sanders is the offense coordinator. I might be wrong. Maybe it's Adelman. Adam is a defense coordinator on this team or the coaching staff. And I'm just like, we got to figure this out because this team's lazy. Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray just showed it. They're lazy. It's laziness. It's legit laziness. It's just so frustrating because, like I said, I know that our championship window is so small. This is the closest. This is the best run this franchise has ever had. Best 5-10 year run this franchise has ever had. And I may not be ready to blow it up all the way, but I think Charles Barkley makes a very, very, very good point in saying that you cannot waste this guy's career. You can't. I don't care about fucking relationships at this point. Jamal may be the one to salvage where we keep him and tag him along, but Michael Porter Jr. is very expendable in my opinion. There's a lot of expendable players on this team that look. There's two guys getting paid $200 million combined on this team, and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, and both of them are playing like bench players, are playing like six men. So it's very, very irritating because. And I'll stop my tirade here when I say this. The role players are not doing a terrible job. Julian Strawther is doing fine. Russell Westbrook has had a very, very solid year. He hasn't been bad. Christian Brown has fit the KCP role literally perfectly. Like, we're not missing anything there. What this team is missing is a reliable number two and just depth. Just depth. Because there's still not a backup center that I can fucking rely on. And there's still not frankly, a volume shooter and volume 3D guy off the bench that I would trust in. And that's not a recipe for success in winning the NBA championship.
Even I can understand that. That put it into terms that I can understand. Long season still ahead. Hopefully there's a turnaround coming for both those teams. Let's switch gears back to football. You went through the Pickem, so the updated standings. These are correct, and we have a better way of making sure that
70 games perfectly. It worked. It's very
math
nice.
Math and numbers are not my thing, and I texted you. It's like, I'm not the data guy. We did the emergenetics thing and did our personality types. I was the lowest that you could be in the data. It just drives me my brain totally shuts down. I'm not the dumbest person in the world, but when it comes to numbers and data, I hate it. It's bad. I'm down by 5 games. So Nico at 48 and 22. I'm at 43
by the way,
27.
you went perfect last weekend. By the way,
I hit 14 out of 15 or 14 out of 16 games in my mom's office pool. Still ended up losing. Heyo, because I had 48 for the point total in the Bronco game, and they had that by the second quarter. So I was that was not good. This is presented by Find the Good Brand. Find the Good Brand apparel. Go to findthegoodbrand.com. Promo code BENCH, BENCH. You get 10% off checkout for Find the Good Brand. Help you through the bad days, rainy days, ups and downs, whatever else that stands between you and a smile. They also donate 10% of all their proceeds to Mental Health America. So like we said last week, like we've continued to say since we've been working with Find the Good Brand, get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a sweatshirt, and help out somebody if you've ever had somebody go through mental health struggles, anything like that.
Black Friday may not be over, maybe over, but we do still have a code for you to get some stuff off. So use it.
You can still use it. You still use it. It's
great.
And
before we get into this pickup, because the Broncos have a bye week, and I want to talk about this game because it may have been the most fucking exciting football game I've been to in 8 years. And this is not sugarcoating it. That Monday Night Football game was fucking cinema, Jimmy. I was sitting there and I was trying to figure out before, as I was walking into the stadium on Monday night, when was the last time that I remember specifically walking into a nightcap football game in Denver? And I remember what it was. It was the 10-9 fucking football game with Matt Ryan versus Russell Wilson. And I remember specifically wanting to gouge my fucking eyes out watching that football game. That was the most hideous football game.
Oh, well, when you saw Levi Wallace out there this week, you probably had the same feeling.
Oh, we'll get to that. Oh, don't worry. We'll get to that here in a minute.
There's a lot that we're going to get to this. This game is going to be brought back up. Don't trust us. Don't
multiple times. But the Jameis Winston experience, my God, what a fucking experience.
667 yards. If you don't count the wrong teams that he threw for 667 yards.
Oh, man. I was watching this football game being like, I don't know what else I want from a football game. I've had 2 pick sixes.
Fullback touchdown, 2 pick sixes.
Fullback touchdown, 5 interceptions total. I saw a 97 or 93-yard touchdown pass followed by a 70-yard touchdown pass. The next fucking offensive play. Yeah. I was like, this game's drunk. I was like, this game's fucking drunk.
Well, I mean, look at the Broncos uniforms. Of course it was drunk.
Yeah, that's the conversation for another day. But I was just like, man, this is something.
There was a lot going on. I mean, there was. I had it. I was listening to other stuff, so I had it on without the sound, and I would just kept looking up periodically, and I'd go, "What? They threw what? Another one? Another really?
Jimmy, I kid you, I wish I sat here and acted like I could be upset that Bo Nix didn't have that great a game or whatever. But Bo Nix fucking wins that football game for us. Sean Payton wins that football game for us. Our defense, Jaquan McMillan more specifically, not Levi Wallace, wins us that football game. This is a football team that is very, very complete. And you win 2 of the last 4 games, more specifically beating the Colts next week, not this week, next weekend. You're in the playoffs. Yeah. You're in the fucking playoffs. You win 2 of the next 4, and more specifically winning next week's game, you're in the fucking playoffs. Unless something stupid happens. Oh man, look, I find it so discouraging as a Bronco fan, seeing all these Bronco fans that live in California because of John Elway and they're Lakers fans and Dodgers fans and trying to ride our coattails and saying Bo Nix sucks this and Bo Nix isn't as good as that. And I'm just like, look, Russell Wilson does not make football fun. This team is making football fun again.
The only reason Russell Wilson made it look like football was fun is because he's playing the worst defense of all time, which you guys get to play coming. We get to play coming up again. That Bengals game, but that's the game that Bo Nix is going to look like the next coming of whatever insert name quarterback that you want to put. Here's the thing: do you not like winning football games?
By the way, Bo Nix.
Do you not like being competitive in every single drive and every single down?
Bo Nix would have had 3 touchdown passes if 2 of those weren't stopped on the 1 yard line. Javonte Williams had 3 carries for 3 yards and a touchdown. 1 yard carry, touchdown. Fullback dive, touchdown. How did we get to that point? That's going 7 for 11 on third down with 156 passing yards on third down by a rookie. By a fucking rookie. Russell Wilson doesn't win that game for us. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. Like, don't get me wrong. Watching Jerry Judy cook my ass so quickly kind of hurt.
Hey, kudos to you. You said you called that. You called that out.
I know he was going to cook us. I knew it. I was like, he's going to come in and cook our ass.
I didn't think that he'd burn the toast that bad, but he burned the shit out of that toast.
He cooked our ass so fucking bad.
Eli Apple's looking at Levi Wallace like, thank God somebody else can finally take over that meme.
Oh my God. Like the statistic that blew my mind, and as I was riding the light rail back home after the game, I saw it come up. Jerry Jeudy had 2 receptions for 20 yards being guarded by Jerry Jeudy. Being guarded by Pat Surtain. Jerry Jeudy being guarded by Pat Surtain. You know how many yards he had guarded by everybody else?
163, 180, something like that.
200 plus yards, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Like,
it was bad. It was really bad.
I literally like what I thought was so funny, because I could see it from the game, watching at the game, seeing it on the field. Cleveland would motion Jerry Jeudy for the sole purpose of seeing if we were in man or zone.
Oh, yeah.
And the second we were in zone coverage and that Jerry Jeudy crossed the part of the field and saw Levi Wallace and Jaquan McMillan on the other end, the ball was going to him. The ball was going right to it. And that is what Jameis was.
Because that ended up being the reason why Jameis Winston threw that game away. Because what have we always said about Jameis Winston? He does not know linebackers exist. I said it last night. He walks past the linebacker room when they're watching film. He's like, "Hey, you guys part of the custodial staff? What's coaches? What's going on here? You guys play on the field? Oh shit, they play defense with 11 players."
You were at a game with me this year. Like we were the Carolina. I was chirping everybody. I sat there. I was like, I can't chirp Jameis. He's too likable. I can't fucking.
He's praying that the Lord delivers him from the pick six. Lord Jesus, Lord, thank you for everything that you've given me in this life, and I pray, please deliver me from the pick six. Let me throw regular interceptions. He
makes this game so fucking fun to watch that I'm just like. There was Broncos fans sitting next to me. I was like, stop chirping Jameis. Like, I'm having a hell of a time. I don't know about you. This game's fucking, yeah, Jerry Jeudy's cooking her ass for 250 yards. But we are seeing something special out of Jameis Winston. Like it's, man, I was having so much fun. I was like, this is just such drunk football. Like Jaquan McMillan making the most insane grab for a touch for a pick and then going the opposite way for 60 yards, and Elijah Moore just walking off the field and not even touching him. I was like, oh my God, this is like Stefanski probably wants to pull his head off his body. Stefanski is a good head coach. He is a very solid head coach. I think management and ownership probably was forcing him down his throat to start Deshaun Watson, because I think he probably would have ran with Jameis, and they'd be a much better record than they are right now if they ran with Jameis the whole year. And he knows it's like these fucking idiots. It's literally being like, oh, these guys are so fucking stupid. If I had some, it's like, and I'll put this in teacher terms because you're obviously a teacher. It's like walking into a classroom where you're like, these guys, I have a bunch of nice people that are good students that are getting A's on tests, but or getting A's on all their homework assignments, but failing every fucking test. And they throw spitballs at me, they throw paper towels at me, and they will get kicked out of the classroom every once in a while. But they get their homeworks turned in on time every single time, and they're actually good kids and say thank you and please and thank you. But at the same time, they're also little shits. That's literally what this Cleveland Browns team is.
Did you come to school today? Did you watch my last couple classes? Because that hits eerily close to home. Actually,
what's Stefanski's doing? It's what Stefanski's doing.
I don't envy him at all.
I know you don't, because you still have Bengals ties. But like, going on the other flip side of this things, why I think this is so sustainable, and why I think that if we get the 5th seed, I think we could beat Houston, or if Pittsburgh wins their division, we could beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Is that you look at what the key components of this team are. Jimmy, did you hear Myles Garrett's name said at all on Monday night?
No, because they schemed him out of contention.
did nothing. McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles had the game of their life making sure that Myles Garrett's name was not said. And that was because Bo Nix got the ball out in time and they made his life miserable. I saw Myles Garrett getting taken off the field panting. Obviously, the altitude plays an effect in that. But like panting, being tired, taking plays off. And I was like, this is the defensive player of the year that I haven't heard his name once. T.J. Watt made our life a living fucking hell. T.J. Watt made our life a fucking living hell.
He sacked Bo Nix with his aura. I remember that.
Exactly. And Myles Garrett got torn to pieces. And then you look at the defensive line and what you're seeing from outside linebackers. Nick Bonito has turned himself into a top 5 pass rusher in football. He is the second leading pass or sack leader in the NFL. He had a pick 6 on Monday night. Him and Von Miller are the only 2 people in Broncos history to have a pick 6 and 10+ sacks in a season. And we are at week 14, Jimmy. And he did that. Like, he is an absolute all-world talent, and he is doing an excellent job where teams are now having to scheme towards him. That's going to make things life a lot easier for Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, DJ Jones, who had a very, very solid game as well, making Nick Chubb basically incoherent and not even a part of the game plan at all, where James had to air the ball out. Man, I'm very, 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 very happy with the way this team is built, and I cannot stress this enough. This is Sean Payton's team. This is Sean Payton's team, and he has done such a good job building this franchise around. And he's proved that making the decision of Sean Payton over Russell Wilson was the right decision. Like, people, including the idiot on the fan, continues to say that Russell Wilson is going to win a Super Bowl for Sean Payton. By the way, Sean Payton won a Super Bowl before Russell Wilson, but whatever. He says, "Oh, Sean Payton's this wrong, this, that, and the other thing." Jimmy, I pose this question to you because obviously you're not necessarily a new fan of the Broncos, but you're new to being diehard. Like, do you think Sean Payton has more years of being an elite level head coach in the NFL, or Russell Wilson having more years being a playoff caliber quarterback that can win a championship in the NFL? Who has the longer tenure?
It would be Sean Payton because
exactly.
he doesn't need as much around him.
Exactly.
What everybody is failing to realize is that Russ having success in Pittsburgh proves that he was obtuse here and refused to listen to any of the coaching staffs that he ever had and thought that he was going to be the hot shit. And Mike Tomlin has taken that out of him. Talk about not wanting to take the wag out of the puppy tail. He's like, yep, nope, you don't wag. You don't pee in the house. You go outside when I tell you. You come home when I ask. You come right to the door. There is no leeway. So that's what you have to do with Russ if you want to win, because that's exactly what Pete Carroll did in Seattle. Sean Payton can win with Bo Nix, and I'm not sitting here saying that there's another option that's better, but Sean Payton could sit here and win with a lot of other quarterbacks
playing his way. And Russell Wilson just refused entirely to do that. And look, I'm not going to sit here and act like Russell Wilson hasn't played well this year, because he has. He's done a very, very good job in Pittsburgh ever since he came back in for relief. But frankly, I will take Bo Nix and Sean Payton for the next 10 fucking years over Russell Wilson for the next 3. Right? Everyone wants to make the joke that Bo Nix is 60 years old. The motherfucker's 24 years old.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are playing until they're fucking 40. Joe Flacco is still in the NFL, Jimmy. I'm not calling fucking Bo Nix Joe Flacco by any means, but that's your career trajectory might not be bad. Like I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to be Drew Brees, but Drew Brees didn't have his prime until he was in his mid-20s, late 20s when he went to New Orleans. He was terrible in San Diego with the Chargers. He was terrible. Like I can see the flip side of thing that Russell Wilson wasn't the problem. He absolutely wasn't the problem. Nathaniel Hackett was the worst fucking coaching hire in the history of the NFL. Plain and simple. If we had a better coaching staff that first year, frankly, could have got, I don't even fucking know. I don't even remember that coaching tree, but you could have got somebody that year outside Nathaniel Hackett thinking that you're going to get Aaron Rodgers. This team could have been set up a lot better, frankly. That was the worst decision this team ever made.
I'm pretty sure that was Kevin O'Connell.
I think O'Connell was that year. You're right. And
speaking of Joe Flacco, Kevin O'Connell and Joe Flacco were drafted in the same draft class.
Wow. But like, as a Bronco fan, if you're not enjoying this team, go fucking watch Dancing with the Stars, or like go do something else. I'm dead serious. Get the fuck off the train. Like, if you're not having fun with this team, not having fun, enjoying wearing orange and blue on Sunday / Monday / Thursday nights, go fucking do something else. Go find a fucking new hole to dig yourself into. Go back to watching the Lakers be bums. We don't fucking want you. We don't want you. Plain and simple, we don't want you. So it's a great time to be a Bronco fan. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Look, I don't think that, like I said, I don't think we can beat Buffalo in the playoffs. I don't think we can beat Baltimore in the playoffs. I do think that we could give the Chiefs a run for their money. I do think that we could beat the Texans in the playoffs. I do think we could beat the Steelers in the playoffs. But like, and I worry about if we get that far to play Detroit or Philly. I don't think we get that far. But like, this is a team that is contending. That's all I've asked for 8 years, Jimmy. 8 years.
They are contending, and we're going to be talking about a lot of the teams that you just brought up. Let's get into the games that we have for this week, because I know we're going to get back to the Bronco game because that's not the end of it, but we have some other things that we need to get out of the way first. Starting off Thursday Night Football, I'll give everybody a score update afterwards, but let's go ahead and tell everybody who we picked. We make our picks before the game, so I know that we started right as kickoff was going on, but we were both on the Lions previously, and I'm going to look up and see what the score is now. But what was your thought process behind the Lions? And let's actually, before we get into the thought process, let's go back to that Thanksgiving game again. Let's go back to last week because the Chicago Bears, as much as they did the right thing by getting rid of Matt Eberflus, there's been so much that's come out in the recent times, but also they were the physical embodiment of what he did on the sidelines. You were literally like, are you going to fire him after the Hail Mary? No. Are you going to fire him after the 50-yard run at halftime? No. Are you going to fire him at the blocked field goal against the Packers? No. Are you going to fire him against the Vikings when he loses in overtime? No. It's going to be the timeout that he didn't call on a Thanksgiving game that nobody thought you had any chance of being even close in. Now, I get it. It's the worst coaching decision that I've ever seen, ever in my life. Only time that I've ever actually – like, I was coming out of my soup coma. I was like soup, beer. I was done for pretty much the whole third and fourth quarter. I was actually just going into it because I slept through a Cowboys game, but I was like, they have a timeout, right? And I'm getting comfortable, and I'm looking. They still have a timeout? Why is he not calling the timeout? I want to go to sleep. Call the timeout and kick the field goal.
The fact that the Bears had that little offensive production in the first half, like I thought 9.5 was the easiest fucking bet of all time. Like I seriously did. That's why I lost last week. Unfortunately,
that's why you picked up the one loss.
That stung because I was like, damn, this is so unfortunate. But look, the news that keeps coming out more and more is like Bears fans got to be sick to their fucking stomachs. Because Jim Harbaugh apparently went out and said that he wanted to be a Chicago Bear head coach. He wanted to coach Caleb Williams. And you decided to not pull the trigger on Eberflus. So you waited 10 games and had Eberflus draft his guy in Caleb Williams and then fire him. Jimmy, do you know the cycle that the Bears have been on?
Yeah, no, I think I brought it up.
Have you seen the video?
Up on a few. Yes, I have seen the video. I brought that up on a few different times where it goes all the way back to Lovie Smith because Lovie Smith was 10-6. That was their last successful season, and they fired him the next year. The GM did, and then it started the whole.
No. So what happened was Lovie Smith brought in Jay Cutler, right? Jay Cutler. They go 10-6. They go on this run. They fire Lovie Smith. They bring in a new head coach. Well, that new head coach was John Fox. Guy who got fired for 3 days before the Broncos fired him with Peyton Manning. They bring him in. Well, Jay Cutler wasn't John Fox's guy. So that they I forgot who the next quarterback did. Maybe it was Trubisky was the next quarterback did.
No, it wasn't. It was. I mean, they had Glennon. It was the Glennon Trubisky thing.
It was Glennon Trubisky thing. And then with Trestman, where Trestman got fired, and well, Trubisky wasn't the guy that the next coach came in.
Nagy
didn't draft. Nagy didn't draft Trubisky. The last guy did. So he just gave. So they gave. Or Nagy drafted Trubisky, then got fired.
No, Nagy drafted Fields.
Either way. Quarterbacks, the head coaches that they hire didn't draft the quarterbacks that they're
no, exactly, and they're still not doing that. And guess what? The GM's going to get fired next season.
And frankly, apparently Bezos wants to buy the team, and the owner went on social media and said, "We're not selling the team. We're not selling the team. We're not selling the team." And that was the rumor out there. And I
could hear Big Cat's voice, you can just sell the team, make your money, and sell the team. They don't even. Here's the thing, They don't even watch football on Thanksgiving. The family that owns the Bears does nothing football related on Thanksgiving because it's a family holiday and the Bears are still a family-run business. Yeah. You know who else is? I guess they're not necessarily a family-run business anymore, but the Packers are doing business on Sundays. And I said this on whatever other show I was on this week. Both of them. You are a football team. You work Thanksgiving. You work Sundays. You work Christmas. You work New Year's. Those are non-negotiables.
It's the worst part about being in sports. I know that all too well. I've missed weddings because of work. I've missed fucking birthdays. I've missed Father's Day, Mother's Day, July 4th because I had to work. That's the world of sports, unfortunately. And Chicago just not done that. I just find it so interesting because I think it was Dan Dan Orlovsky said this, or maybe it was Marcus Spears. The Bears are not going to go for a home run hire. They're going to hire somebody. They'd be like, well, why do they do that? Nagy was a CFL head coach, right? Eberflus was the defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm sorry, have we ever talked about the Colts being a premier defense in the NFL in the last 10 years? No. They were a middle-of-the-road defense, but not a premier defense of the league, right? If you're Ben Johnson, because we'll bring it back to the Lions here. If you're Ben Johnson, why the fuck would you go? Why the hell would you go to the Bears?
He did say that. I mean, he did say that what Caleb Williams showed, that's not one of the teams that he would say no to, because Ben Johnson's come out and said if the right team isn't offering, he's just going to stay. That's not one of the teams he would say no to.
And you know who that right team is?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's on the bottom right hand of the screen.
Oh, the Cowboys.
No, it's the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I don't think that we're going to fire Zach Taylor in enough time, honestly.
And then you're Matt Eberflus 2.0.
No,
Right?
When we're talking about the Bears, it hurts more because I see the same things in the Bengals. And I got the rundown yesterday. Our GM literally has let every successful all-pro player or Pro Bowl player that we've had over the last 5 years walk away. And I'm seeing very similar trends to the Chicago Bears. And it just makes me very sad.
And why I'm so confident in this is because what Ben Johnson is doing with Jared Goff will be fucking on steroids with Joe Burrow. Okay? Like Jared Goff is a good quarterback. He is a very, very solid quarterback, doesn't make mistakes, knows who to get the ball to, and knows things. Who does that better than anybody in the league? Joe fucking Burrow. So I think that based upon the rumors I heard with the Lions, I think Ben Johnson will wait until Zach Taylor's gone. I'm dead serious. If it's not this offseason, then he returns to Detroit. Because I don't think he wants to deal with the shit show in Chicago because he plays it twice a year. He doesn't want to deal with that. I don't think he wants to go to Dallas if they get rid of Holmgren. Or not Holmgren, fucking McCarthy. I think that is the number one team that he's guys at. Is he's not going to Jacksonville? Maybe Jacksonville's the other one because of Lawrence. But Lawrence can't stay healthy because the poor guy got his head taken off.
That was the dirtiest hit that I've seen in years. Good on the NFL for suspending that guy 3 games. That's all I'll say.
It's a tough situation. But like, if you're the Detroit Lions, and I will continue going back into this game, this is a championship ready team. This is a championship ready team, and they lost their best pass rusher, and they've added a guy that wreaked havoc against them for so long with the Packers, and fucking what's his name? Smith. What's his
Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius Smith. There's Zadarius Smith. Packers team are very, very good. I knew that they're going to beat Miami last week. I knew that they're a very, very good football team, and frankly, this division is a lot better than people are giving credit to because Minnesota's very good, Green Bay's very good, Detroit's very good. All those teams are very, very teams that you don't necessarily want to face in the playoffs, and I just think that obviously we're watching this game, but I thought about this before, but like Detroit is just a step above. Right now, Detroit is a step above them. The Green Bay is a contending team, but they're not a favorite like Detroit in this area. They're a step below, and that's no slight to them because right now Jordan Love is playing out of his mind, and they have a really, really good identity with Josh Jacobs and obviously Jaden Reed and Musgrave or Tucker Kraft and company at the tight end position. Well, they have a very, very good identity that LaFleur is building, and I think that they should be very, very happy with being a playoff team and trying to sneak up on a team in playoffs. So I'll just take Detroit here. I'm not like I said, Detroit's a Super Bowl favorite for me right now. I think they're the best team in football. So I will continue riding this team.
I was thinking when I was making my pick, I was trying to lean towards the Packers because I figured that one of us would be on the Lions, and I wanted to use this game as a way to get it back. I don't see Dan Campbell with the way that he's coached this team this season. They're not going to fall in a division game, especially at home. They know how important this home field advantage is, and when we get to one of our games coming up, we're going to talk about the other team that they're competing for that home field advantage. If it goes through Ford Field, Detroit should be in the Super Bowl. I'm knocking on wood. I'm doing all my juju stuff. I know Lions fans hate me right now, but that is the truth. Looking at it as objectively as possible without any biases. If I was just looking to make a smart pick right now, the Lions would be the team. If they have home field advantage, that's who I would pick as well. So I was on them, and they are currently leading start of the third quarter, just getting underway. So Green Bay will have the ball, but they're up 17-7 right now over the Packers. So they're still handling business. Looks like they should be able to take care of things. Everything always gets weird. Thursday nights are a little bit funny that way, but I guess we're going to stick it out with the NFC North, and we're going with the number one team that we both had. Moving forward, the Falcons and the Vikings. This game is interesting, and I put it on here because we had to pick an extra game up with the Broncos having a bye. I put it on here mainly because of what happened last week. Kirk Cousins is I really don't know what that whole situation is. Maybe the Falcons knew a little bit more than what everybody else did. It's starting to become a little bit more apparent why they drafted Michael Penix, because the question now becomes when, if ever, do the Falcons move from Kirk Cousins to Michael Penix Jr.?
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
I was interested to see where you were on that. I said I don't know if it was going to happen, but as I sit here and think about it, it seems like it's closer and closer.
I sat here and talked about during the draft show and when we talked about the draft, saying Kirk Cousins has 2 or 3 more years of prime football and Michael Penix won't play. I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. And I think the Falcons are even happier that Michael Penix is still in their system. I don't know how good he's going to be because he kind of struggled against us when he came in relief. But I don't know. It's 2 teams here in Minnesota and Atlanta where Darnold's obviously had a great year. And no one thought that this would happen. But 2 rookie quarterbacks in McCarthy and McPenix that everyone thought at some point obviously this would be their team. Right, everyone thought it would be their team, and 2 different sides of the coin. Darnold is showing that he's still a good quarterback in this league and under a good system, and Kirk Cousins on the flip side is not anymore. And oh, man, Minnesota is. I think Minnesota really truly has their identity written down, and I think when you get to these week 14 games, 15, 16, up until the end of the regular season, you find out who has identities, who doesn't. And Minnesota realized Aaron Jones is really running the ball really, really well. They get Justin Jefferson in space. There's not a single soul that can guard him one-on-one in the National Football League, and including Pat Surtain, definitely not Levi Wallace in that conversation.
Oh, please, God, no. Please, God, no.
And their defense has really, really vastly improved, and I've been very, very impressed too. So there's a lot of good things for the Vikings right now going for them. That Atlanta, Kirk Cousins has more weapons. I mean, maybe not as the best weapons he's ever had in his career, but a lot more diverse level weapons than he's had in his career. Bijan Robinson is one of the best running backs he's ever had lined up behind him. Outside,
they don't give him the football.
They don't give him the football.
They don't give him the ball. They don't give the ball to Drake London. Kirk Cousins just likes to give the ball away. He just gives the ball away to the other team.
He literally lost that game on their back entirely. We could have used that loss for the Chargers too. He 100% lost that game for them, and it's just so tough to see if you're a Falcons fan, because you thought you're 1 quarterback away, and frankly, you're still 1 quarterback away. You didn't find the guy. That's the worst part about it.
Yeah. As we're speaking, the Lions are getting driven on right now. 3rd and 10 from the Lions 12. The Packers have the ball. Looks like they might be able to come away with a field goal, but I'm on the Vikings as well. Just with what Kirk did, it was not going to be. I mean, it's not a performance that puts a lot of faith in that team. So I'm on Skull. I'm with the Vikings. Next game up, Eagles and Panthers. This game is on here mainly because if the Eagles continue to win, and if the Lions ever slip up just slightly, a couple times, then it would go through the bank. And we saw what happened the last time the playoffs went through the bank. They were able to go all the way through. That's the last Super Bowl championship that they won. This should be business as usual, but the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young we saw it in person. They are still frisky. They're the biggest underdog, I believe, of this weekend, which, for good reason, because Philadelphia is a good team. But man, that is a team that they're just playing. And that's the scariest kind of team to play, because they don't care if they win or lose. They're expecting to lose. But if they win and they beat the Eagles, who are this, second best team in the NFC, that would make their season. That would be the best thing that any of these guys do all year. So why not? Why not? No, I'm not going. Can't do it.
They're playing free football. They're playing free life football is what Carolina is doing. Because at this point, they said, Bryce Young, go win your job. Right? Go win your job, because right now we're going to be drafting in the top 10. And frankly, there's going to be a quarterback out there possibility. Show us why we made the right decision in trading up for you, not last year, but 2 years ago. Tell us why. And he's done that. Obviously, almost beating almost beating Kansas City in Kansas City or at the end of the game. Wild, right? Almost like having all these good games where Bryce Young is throwing the ball for well. It really, really helps having Thielen back in the lineup, because I think if you can get a legit number 1 receiver for Bryce Young, he does get a lot better. For instance, see what he did with Devontae Smith, who's on the opposite side of the field now at Alabama. Like he could prove into something else. But frankly, he is not facing a defense. He is not, the Broncos are a good defense. Don't get me wrong, but the Eagles' defense is something that Carolina is not prepared for. It is the most physically demanding, punch you in the mouth defense that may be in the entire NFL. Jalen Carter, big boy out of Georgia the last couple of years, may be the best D tackle in football. I don't think that's even a tough conversation.
Trayvon Walker is no slouch right now either. He is killing it with them.
Like they have done a very excellent job of building that defense. So Trayvon Walker, I think, is the guy that's in
that's what I said.
No, Jalen Carter is the big.
They have another. They have another.
They have a couple of Georgia guys. Yeah, a couple of Georgia guys. I don't know all their names, but yes, they have Georgia built defense. They have the linebacker. I think it's Nolan something. I think it's maybe
Nikobe Dean.
Nikobe Dean. There it is. The middle linebacker for Georgia. It's a Georgia built defense. And then you have arguably the two best corners out of this draft on the same roster. Two rookie cornerbacks, and
Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay, and then obviously Cooper DeJean is not my lover. Like he has done a fantastic job as being the second best crackerback in the NFL. Okay, second, probably argument for the best. Probably is. I'm just making a joke, but I think Bryce Young would be lucky to put up 10 points against
Jordan Davis is the big guy from Georgia. Jalen Carter is the other D lineman from Georgia. So we were both talking about the same guys, just put the wrong names to them.
Yes, big motherfuckers. Both of them big motherfuckers that are just imposing their will on this defense and doing such a great job that the Eagles offense is just doing what they want, right? Like I said, Saquon Barkley is playing MVP type level. Philadelphia and Detroit have the argument of being the best teams in football. I think that if you're an Eagles fan, if you're a Lions fan, we're not picking a Buffalo game this week, but if I can throw Buffalo in this conversation, obviously I'll throw Kansas City in the conversation. If you're one of those four teams, you're having a strong thought that we can do this, that we can take this the whole way if we don't falter and get hot at the wrong time. Because like I said, the Eagles have won 5 in a row, 6 in a row now, whatever it's been. They're playing some of the best football they've obviously played the last couple of years. And it's a kudos to their defense, and kudos to Jalen Hurts and managing that offense so perfectly to a T.
Yeah. They're doing everything that they need to do, and Sirianni is limiting his impact on the game, and I think that's the best thing for the Eagles. So we're both on Philly. Now we're going to get to the games where we're a little bit different. Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers under Jim Harbaugh, they're on a downward trajectory, but they beat the Falcons because Kirk Cousins threw those 4 interceptions. But they have not looked the same ever since that Sunday Night Football game against Cincinnati. Maybe this is the spark that they need. Kansas City is a 3.5-point favorite, so the Chiefs still get that little bit of a nod. It is at home in Arrowhead. Why are you going to pick against the team that you just hate the most? Why?
I hate both the teams the most.
I know you hate both these teams.
There's a conversation.
There's definitely I know you hate one team.
There's a hierarchy. It's Raiders 1. That's not even close. Number 2 is obviously the Chargers, and the Chiefs are number 3 because the Chiefs really were fucking piss poor for most of my life, frankly, and I couldn't give 2 shits about them. But now they're good, obviously, and I still have the hatred toward them. I am picking the Chiefs here for a couple of reasons. One, at home. I think that I'll give them the edge at home. Sunday Night Football. Chris Collinsworth is going to have his dick on the fucking out on the podcast on the broadcast talking about Patrick Mahomes. He did everything he could in his rightful power to talk about him on every single fucking play that the Bills did in the snow game this past Sunday. Like Kansas City at home, and also the second factor in this, Chargers keep losing, it will help our seeding purposes, and we could, like I said, they lose this game, we're in a 3-way tie for the 5th seed, with Baltimore also having a bye this week. So it could play into our factor of helping us get a better seed in playoffs, where we don't have to go into Buffalo in the playoffs if we get to that point. We do not. So I will take the Chiefs at home here. They find ways. It's the old. They can't keep getting away with this meme where they really can't, but they are somehow, and the Chiefs will continue just to win games that they probably should.
I feel like the Chiefs, they are going to be well prepared for this game. What I said about Dan Campbell not slipping up in an in-division home game, it probably stands just as true, if not definitely more for Andy Reid. But I'm trying to pick my spots here. I do have 5 games that I need to make up, and this will probably end up costing me a perfect week. But I just right now it's going to be the Chargers for me. I think that's it. That's where I'm going.
Don't hate it. Like I said, I kind of need it for the Broncos purposes. That's what I'm just trying to do here. And it's weird saying I have to pick the team that's winning the division to win to help the Broncos, but unfortunately the Broncos are not winning the division. So we got to try to make up ground and try to get a better, hopefully 5 seed as opposed to a 4 seed, or it's playing the 2 seed. And the 4 seed opposed to playing 2 seed. That's correct. That's how it's
4 seed instead of the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Wrapping things up, we have the special Simpsons broadcast going for the Bengals and Cowboys. This game probably was one of the games they tried to flex out, but they had already done all the animations for this one, so they were never going to move it. But the Bengals, 5.5-point favorites. I mentioned you on Talking the Gridiron. The text that I got, it was very factual, and I get it, and it still hurts me because I do still have those ties. I've talked about it. It's my ex-girlfriend. It's hard to get over it. I told you this defense was the worst defense in the NFL when I gave up the team. So get it. I got text from you. I got text from other people. There's text going all through the group chats that I'm in. I get it. I was the one that said it initially. You don't have to keep telling me. You know, and it's like the 7th graders just constantly honing in, and they're bad. They're really bad. Yeah, they're god awful. Really, really terrible. And when you're playing against the defense with TJ Watt, who's going to be able to win a shootout by himself from the defensive side of the football, what else did we expect? I mean, what else do we really expect? I guess I didn't expect Russell Wilson to throw for 400 yards. I didn't think that our defense was that bad, but holy shit. This is just Logan Wilson was out. I will say that. Their best pass coverage linebacker was out.
I don't even know if that helps. I don't think that helps really that much.
It helps. It helps because he's a really good player, but they would just.
So instead of giving up 40 points, you'll give up 30 points. It's a massive upgrade, I know. But like this,
if we scored 30 points in half, if we only give up 30 points in half our games, we're like leading our division and possibly in the 2 seed for the AFC.
I'm dead serious when I say this. Anarumo should get fired if the Cowboys put up more than 20 points this game. If Cooper Rush walks in and puts up 20-plus points on Monday Night Football against the Bengals, Anarumo should get fired. And we've defended Anarumo multiple times saying he's.
I really don't think that he's the issue, but at this point, he's the only. No, I know. I agree with you. I agree with you, but he's got to go at this point because there's nothing else that you can change. It's like what we were talking about with hockey. You can't get rid of any of the players because they suck talent-wise, so nobody's going to want them. And B, like, who else are you going to play? So you can't get rid of the players. You can get rid of the coach. You can put somebody else in there to call plays.
If Zach Taylor wants
it's literally the only issue. No,
if Zach Taylor wants to keep his job, he fires Anarumo if they lose to the Cowboys. Plain and simple. Because it's either him or him. Because Anarumo will be the interim head coach if you get fired. So it's either A, get rid of him and hope that you can save your job and that your defense fixes itself these last 4 or 5 weeks of the season that mean nothing because you're already basically out of the playoffs, or you fight for your life and your job is done. You're on the employment line next Tuesday. Like I have to believe the Bengals should win this game. The Cowboys suck. Okay, the Cowboys suck. They're so bad. They're so bad. The Cowboys are so fucking bad. Like they should not lose this game. I keep saying this every fucking week. Like. The reason why I'm going to pick Cincinnati here is because I think that Joe Burrow could score 40 points before the Cowboys score 30. How about that? There's your reason why I think the Bengals are going to win. It's not a good reason. I don't love it, but there's my reason. I think that Joe Burrow can put up 40 points on this Cowboys defense, which isn't that bad, low key. They've done a decent job, especially holding Drew Lock in check on Thanksgiving. But like the other offense should not score more than 20. And if they score more than 20,
somebody will get fired. It'll be the wrong person. They might fire the offensive coordinator if they lose to Dallas.
This is a reoccurring theme, Jimmy, of me saying this every single week. If Zach Taylor loses this game, his job's done.
It's not. You didn't go through the years with this franchise. It's not, because guess what? Marvin Lewis lost the wild card playoff game every year, and he was never even on the hot seat. Mike Brown was literally like, what? Why would we fire him? He wins those 8 games.
It's just so crazy to me because we are 3 years now. Yeah.
This is the third. Yeah.
This is 30 years now removed now from a Super Bowl appearance. We're obviously
you had a very 2 years from an AFC championship run.
Exactly. 2 years from an AFC championship run. And now this team is not even a wild card contender.
We got so many tiebreakers above us right now. Like we could literally win out, and we would only be 9-8 if we win out. But I said on Sunday, the Joe Burrow math. We just got to win 13 of our next 10 games, and we'll be right there in the playoffs. Like we'll be fighting for a wild card spot if we win 13 of the next 10. It's over. Everybody knows it's over.
Joe Burrow was so damn worried about Jamar Chase wearing sleeves that this team has so many damn problems. It's actually hilarious. That was another stupid thing that I saw, that he gets mad at Jamar Chase for wearing sleeves. This team doesn't have a practice facility that they don't have to walk across a actual live street where cars drive down every single day. I don't know. This is all I'll say is I'm glad you jumped on the right side of things. You didn't get to go through the shit of the Broncos, but you did get to go through the shit of the Bengals. So
I've been through a couple eras of shit. I've dug my way. I'm Andy Dufresne out right now.
All I'll say is this: don't you bring that bad juju on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you bring that bad juju back on the good side, because
you think that I would actually?
You're wearing a Broncos hat and a Bengals sweatshirt. That's all I'm going to say. Don't bring that bad juju on us, Jimmy, because we've already had enough bad juju the last 8 years.
I feel like it's just finding me at this point. It's just following me. It's like my cellmate. It's like Bubba. Bubba just won't leave me alone. I'm going Cowboys because fading the Bengals has been a very effective strategy for me so far this year in the Pickem. So I'm going to stick with it. Might as well. I know that I'm wearing the double teams. I did that intentionally because I knew that it would mess with you. Last set of the game, and we actually of the podcast, and we have some new things that we're going to introduce, but we're going to start with plays of the week, and I'll let you talk about yours first as I get it pulled up on the screen here.
I wanted to talk about the Bo Nix touchdown. The 93-yard touchdown was one of the most beautiful plays I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. While I'm talking about this, I did pick something different. I changed my mind midway because I picked every single thing being a Broncos thing, which I'll talk about the rest. But this Bo Nix throw was one of the best throws I've ever seen. Like 3 yards in your own end zone, the wherewithal just to bomb it to Marvin Mims, the guy that just has the arm to do it. Or the guy who no one said that he could do this because he has no arm. Guy who said his accuracy is mid in the deep level throws, puts the ball in the literally perfect spot for Marvin Mims, and that was excellent. But my play of the week, I did decide to change it at the last second. I will be going with the first time since 2019, I think it was 2019, maybe 2018 playoff run, where Marcus Mariota caught a touchdown as well as threw a touchdown. Josh Allen did it this weekend as well, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Allen, in the cold snow of the tundra of Buffalo, New York, threw a ball and also caught a ball for a touchdown on the same exact play. For you fantasy football users, yes, that's 10 points. That's a thrown touchdown, 4 points, 6, and a caught touchdown for 6. That's a unbelievable. The Josh Allen is man. Let me say this out there. Fuck Josh Allen. That dude, the Haley Steinfeld, best quarterback in Buffalo. I mean, fuck this guy. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this guy's got everything he wants. They're going to name Buffalo Josh Allen. Like, I'm pretty sure they're going to change that town to Allentown if he wins them a Super Bowl. Like, this is one of the most insane plays I have ever seen, especially in the snow where San Francisco couldn't get 2 feet down normally. Unfortunately, shout out Trish McCaffrey for doing that. A bunch of soft and weak team like San Francisco can't play in the snow, unlike Buffalo. What a play. What a play. The first time, I think it's only the second time it's ever happened. Mariota was the one when he did that in Kansas City. Like, it has been a very, very long-ass time since we've seen that happened. And man, it's such a unique play. And the wherewithal, Amari Cooper is one of the best deadline deals that we've seen all season. He's done such a damn good job in Buffalo, making Josh Allen's life so much more calm, so much more easier. And the whereabouts for Josh Allen to throw the ball and then run around and say, pitch me the ball, I can run it in, is just insane to me as a quarterback. He is an athlete. ATHALETE, athlete. Okay, he is amazing. He's unbelievable, and that play was unreal.
That one, it happened live, and we all literally had almost a conniption on Sunday night. I'm going with the Bronco game, Monday Night Football, but I'm going with, it's the end of the game. Everybody's wondering, everybody's tight. We're puckered up. Are things going to go poorly? Oh, wait, we're playing against Jameis Winston. Oh, yeah, he forgets that linebackers and cornerbacks exist. And we get the pick 6 from Jalen McMillan. McMillan's had a couple of plays this season that I've heard other NFL players like, damn, who is that?
Jaquan McMillan.
Jaquan McMillan?
He is a stud.
McMillan?
He is a stud. He is such a good number 3 cornerback. not the best number 2 in the world, but he is a very, very good number 3 quarterback.
But guess what?
especially in
He
the
can
slot.
play number 2. He can play a number 2 position when he needs to, which is a good thing.
Exactly. It's very, very useful. He's a great in the slot. He's fast. He's got wheels, man. He's so electric. Like I said, this defense for the Broncos, it's like John Gruden said, it's the unknown crush. Like it's the unknown crush. Like you don't know who the fuck these guys are until you watch them on primetime. And now the world is going to realize what Broncos primetime games look like again for the first time in 8 years. And it looks like they're fun because a lot of people had a lot of fun watching that Monday Night Football game. And we have a Thursday night primetime coming up, not next week, the week after. So things are getting exciting. And Jaquan McMillan is an absolute stud.
Moving forward from play of the week, now we're at player of the week. And this is what I was talking about. New things. Niko's doing a little bit of extra work on the side. He's got us going up. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the graphic. We'll post this on our social media clips as well. I'm going with Cam Scatterbo, running back for Arizona State. 21 carries, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns, single-handedly dragging that team to the possibility of college football playoff berth if they win this weekend in the Big 12 championship. We talked plenty about that. If you missed it, head back to the beginning of the episode. That's where we got all our college football talk in. But Cam Scatterbo, we talked about him quite a bit because that's one of the best names in college football. Scatterbo, and I believe his nickname is Bo. Bo Scatterbo. Bo Scatterbo, go run that football. Go run that football. Run over them 30 linebackers out there and go put that ball in the end zone.
That's a football fucking name if I've ever heard one. I'll tell you what. I am riding with Casa fucking Bonito. Casa Bonito. Casa Bonito. Casa Bonito. Casa Bonito. Nick Bonito is an absolute legend. He has put himself into the conversation. Like I said, I'm not going to keep stroking him off, but I will. 1 sack, 1 pick six, number 2 in the NFL in sacks. That's above Myles Garrett. That's above TJ Watt. It's above
behind Trey Hendrickson.
I know, still the worst defense in the league, but hey, you're still a Broncos fan, so pick your battles wisely is all I'm going to say. Like I said, it's a whole Chris Paul meme. Chris Paul knocks a 3 down, but he let in a 95-yard touchdown, or it's still down by 30 points. So good for Trey Hendrickson getting sacks, but Nick Bonito has done an excellent job for this team, making a name for himself. He is the next. I'll be ready to say it. He's the next great pass rusher for the Denver Broncos. The Gradishars, the Von Millers, the Marcus Wares, and now Nick Bonito's of the world. Elvis Jr. really throw that in there too. He is that next wave of this new Broncos defense of being an elite pass rusher. And he has done an excellent job this year. And he's a guy that not enough people are talking about, but after Monday night's game, people are talking about him more, and it's well deserved. And like I said, when you're a good player and you can come up with fucking sick nicknames already, that's enough. That's enough. Like you're already skyrocketing. Bo bars. Casa Bonito, bars. Are you kidding me? Like if PS2, Pastor Tan, PS2, the video game console, bars. That's fucking nicknames. When you have a nickname that fits and you're a baller, unbelievable. Merch sales, unbelievable, is all I'm going to say. And for those that don't know why we're yelling Casa Bonito all around, first of all, stop living under a rock and go watch South Park. Secondly, it is one of the greatest restaurants in American history, okay? So Casa Bonita, as it's called, Casa Bonito and Nick Bonito is an absolute stud, so I'll take him player of the week.
I like it, and I'll go ahead and give everybody a little bit of a reference. We won't be able to play too much of it, but I'll make sure everybody hears the little song that we were singing from Cartman. Before we get there, though, let's go ahead and switch gears. Bench warmer of the week. I'll let you start things off because we've mentioned his name a couple times, but let's get it out of the way and let's just never have to talk about him ever again.
I'm just not. I mean, look, I'm pretty sure I won't ever have to talk about him ever again because I'm pretty sure Sean Payton is done with him anyway. So I'm not going to keep pouring it on this poor guy because that is the worst football game I think a cornerback has ever played. 250 yards. The offense keyed on you. Like there's nothing against Levi Wallace. Like this is a lot different than the left tackle or the right tackle that Jimmy went after with the Bengals.
You texted me, said that he needed to be shipped to Yucatan.
Yes,
which means that you had to do research as to where Yucatan was to figure out. So there's some hard feelings. I don't want anybody to get it twisted. There were some hard feelings.
For those that don't know the meme, the Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton meme with like he shot that bitch from Yucatan. It was like Yucatan, real place. I was like, I don't know. That's how far that bitch was. That's how far he needs to be shipped away to because off a fucking NFL football field. Morris, maybe he can go play for the Raiders. Raiders will pick him up. Well, I am not on the Broncos anymore. Go play somebody else. So look, Levi Wallace, great story. He's done a lot of great things in the community and he's had 4 or 5 years underneath his belt. Unfortunately, he got cooked as badly as I've seen anyone get cooked. Like there is cooked, there is burnt toast, and then there is calling the fire department because you burned the whole house down trying to make toast. Okay, and that is what Levi Wallace did.
I gave it a shot, but I was also proud because as a geography teacher, I was like, yeah, Niko, Yucatan, let's send him. My bench warmer of the week is Jack Sawyer, not because of what he did on the field, but because of how he was the catalyst of that. You can't sit here and tell me that situation after the Ohio State Michigan game didn't have Ohio State looking like the whiny baby, and Michigan ended up coming out looking like $1 million. They're the big bad bully. They won in on the road when they shouldn't have, and then they also won the fight. And they stood there and took the pepper spray like true men that they are. Jack Sawyer, the most important thing that you did outside of that one interception that you can't even claim anymore because it didn't win you the game is rip the flag out of the artificial turf. You know that you can't plant a flag in artificial turf, right? So why are you so bent out of shape? Why weren't you as bent out of shape with Ryan Day on the sidelines and Chip Kelly calling 2 runs and a pass every single offensive series? There's a lot of other things that you could have used your energy on. It didn't have to be ripping the flag out. If that's what happens when you lose a college football rivalry game, shit happens to your field. Don't lose. Defend your home field. That's all I got to say about that. But Jack Sawyer is bench warmer.
The one thing I will say, and give a little bit of love to Jack Sawyer this way, even though it's well deserved why he's bench warmer of the week for you. I would much rather my captain do that than just sit there and take it. Like if I have any hope and pride as a team, as a franchise, I would hope that my captain, 4-year starter, guy who's going to go to the NFL draft, would do that. So yeah, it meant something to him, but and in the opposite sense, Ryan Day didn't mean anything to him. He stood there, hands on his hips, watching it, doing nothing. Jack Sawyer at least wanted to fight and try to fight for his team.
I feel like he should have said something more on the sideline. He should have done something more on the field, but he did what he could as a player, and it's unfortunate.
I could have just put the Ohio State logo there, and that would have been easy enough for Metro of the League.
I made it personal when I saw the video and I saw that he was the one that grabbed the flag initially. I obviously have a little bit of a bias against Ohio State. Hey, I interviewed Jim Tressel last week. Everybody should go check it out on Ohio Sports Talk. Real quickly before I get into the end of everything, I was able to find it. So really quickly, this is Casa Bonito, what we're talking about.
We're here, Casa Bonito. Oh man, it's gonna be so great.
Wait up, Eric. We need to stay together. Hold on, boys. That's my cell phone. Hello? Yes? Oh, that's great. Boys, they found Buttons. He's okay.
Oh, awesome. I knew he'd turn up.
Yes, Eric Cartman is.
All right. So Cartman's excitement that you can see on his face is the excitement that Niko and I had as we were singing the Casa Bonito song. I can't play any more of that. Otherwise, we'll get kicked off. We can't get demonetized because we're not monetized yet. But that's why everybody needs to subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like on the video, comment down below what is your favorite meal to get diarrhea from Casa Bonita. If you know, you know.
Hey, the food has gotten better. I've been there. The food has gotten better.
Since they've been
the food has gotten better, redone. But for those prime Casa Bonita, it's not great. Not great.
Be sure to follow at FEOTB Pod as well. Leave a 5-star rating. The rap has been coming out, so you'll see some of the rap that we've been putting out there. We had a huge year. It's been going great. We appreciate everybody so far, but that does not mean that we're done. That does not mean that we stop. All of you guys are now relied upon to tell friends, tell other people, subscribe to the show, grab your friend's phone, your boyfriend's phone, your girlfriend's phone, whoever it is next to you, grab a stranger's phone off the street, go to their podcast app, subscribe to the Far End of the Bench.
This past month was one of our best months we've had in the history of the show. So we can't appreciate it enough. And look, if our show was on your Spotify app, send us a picture, tag us in it, do all that. We love seeing that kind of stuff. If our show was one of your top podcasts, I don't even know if they do Spotify rap podcast anymore, but I'm sure they do. So if they do that and you see our name there, send a screenshot, send it to us. We'll shout you out, do all that whole thing. So you can't appreciate everyone that's joined. We appreciate it more than you know.
We are very thankful, even though it's the week after Thanksgiving. I'm chugging right along to Christmas break. We got a lot of great things coming up. We will have our playoff bracket Pickem show, but we did a good job breaking down. We made our picks for the conference championship week. So if you missed anything, go back, check it out. Other than that, we're going to send you out for the rest of your week. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host, Niko Bryant, episode 209 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.